At our wedding reception, my husband danced with his mom. As they swayed, she whispered, "You'll always be mine first, not hers." He smirked and nodded. I walked up, grabbed the microphone, and said, "Let's show everyone the wedding gift you two gave me." Their smiles disappeared as the whole room saw what they'd been hiding. We got married at a beautiful, old venue in Savannah, Georgia. The place had brick walls, soft lighting from chandeliers, and felt classy, just like I always dreamed my wedding would be. Everything looked perfect on the outside. Brandon and I had been together for 4 years. He was charming, always knew the right things to say. In the beginning, he seemed thoughtful and caring. He planned weekend trips, gave me sweet little gifts, and made me feel special. But there was always something strange about his relationship with his mom, Margaret. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags. She kept inserting herself into our relationship, pretending she was just being helpful. If I planned a date night, she'd fake an emergency and guilt-trip Brandon into leaving. If I made dinner, she'd say no one cooked like she did. If I talked about our future, she'd smile tightly and say, "We'll see." It started small, and I ignored it. Now I realize I shouldn't have. During the reception, everyone was having fun, laughing, drinking, dancing. I sat at the sweetheart table, watching it all with a glass of champagne in hand. Then the DJ called for the mother-son dance. I expected a sweet moment. It's tradition, right? But what I saw made my stomach turn. Margaret walked up, smiling smugly. Brandon took her hand without hesitation. A slow song played. They danced. Then she leaned in close and whispered in his ear. He smirked. He nodded. That's when I knew, whatever she said wasn't normal. It wasn't sweet or sentimental. It was wrong. My whole body tensed, my heart pounded. I needed to know what she said. When the song ended, she pulled away slowly, her nails brushing his shoulder. Brandon smiled and walked off to grab a drink. I saw my chance. I stood up and walked over to her. "Beautiful dance," I said. She tilted her head, eyes sparkling like she knew a secret. "It was special," she replied softly. "What did you say to him?" I asked. She leaned in and whispered, "You'll always be mine first, not hers." She wanted me to hear it. She wanted to hurt me. And the worst part? Brandon didn't reject it. He agreed. I could have walked away right then. But I didn't. Because I had something they didn't know about. I had proof. And I wasn't going to let them win. I stood tall, smoothed my dress, and walked to the DJ booth. I took the mic and said, "Before we go on celebrating, I'd like to show everyone a little wedding gift my husband and his mother gave me." The room went quiet. All eyes were on me. Brandon stopped in his tracks near the bar. Margaret's smile vanished. I pulled a remote from my bouquet. It was connected to the big screen behind us. Their faces turned pale. I pressed play. The screen lit up. The truth played for everyone to see. The room went silent. All laughter stopped. Guests turned toward the screen, confused. Brandon stood frozen. His drink shook in his hand. Margaret gripped the table so hard her knuckles turned white. Everyone finally saw who they really were. They knew. They knew what was coming. The video started playing. The footage was a little blurry. It came from a small security camera I had secretly placed. Neither of them knew it was there. The screen lit up. We weren't at the wedding anymore. We were in Margaret's kitchen, the one place I always hated, because she made sure I never felt welcome there. Brandon was leaning against the counter, hands in his pockets, looking relaxed. Margaret stood across from him with a glass of wine, slowly swirling it like she wasn't in any rush. "You don't have to go through with this, you know," she said. Her voice was sweet, too sweet, the way she always talked when she was trying to get her way. Brandon sighed. "Mom, we've talked about this." "Have we?" she said, tilting her head, "because I don't think you get it. Once you marry her, things will change, and I don't like that." Brandon gave a short laugh. "It's not like that. You'll still be my..." She cut him off, stepping closer. "Will I?" She put her wine glass down and touched his face. Her nails slowly dragged down his cheek, staying there just a bit too long. People in the wedding hall gasped. Some of my bridesmaids covered their mouths. On the screen, Margaret looked intense, almost hungry. "I raised you. I made you who you are. She doesn't really know you," she whispered. "She never will." Brandon let out a breath. Like this was a conversation they'd had many times before. Like this was normal. Then came the part that broke me. "You'll always be mine first," Margaret said. not hers. And right there, in front of everyone, my new husband smiled. And nodded. I know, he said. The room exploded. People gasped, some whispered. Chairs scraped the floor as guests shifted in shock. Brandon rushed toward me. I took a step back and held up my hand. Aha, I said, we're not done. Brandon's chest was rising and falling fast. His hands were clenched into fists. Where the hell did you get that? He asked, his voice low and angry. Margaret stood up, eyes wild. You sneaky little. Sit down, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. And the video wasn't over yet. The screen changed. A new clip started playing. This time, it was Brandon in a hotel room. But he wasn't alone. More gasps. A woman walked into view. Not me. Not Margaret. Someone else. She was tall, brunette, and beautiful in a cold, effortless way. She wore a silk robe, her nails perfect. I knew her right away. Brandon's ex. She walked up to him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him like she'd done it 1,000 times before. The room exploded. People shouted, some screamed. Margaret collapsed into her chair, pale as a ghost. Brandon looked from the screen to me, stunned. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I turned back to the mic. And there it is, I said, my wedding gift. I dropped the microphone. People stood, some started filming. Phones were out, eyes were wide. My maid of honor rushed over and grabbed my arm. Are you okay? She whispered. I was. Because for the first time in 4 years, I finally saw the truth. Brandon wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a mama's boy. He was both, a cheater and a mama's boy. And I was going to make sure he paid for it. For a moment, the room was completely silent. It felt like everyone had stopped breathing. Then came the chaos, gasps, people whispering, glasses clinking against tables. Some guests were recording, others just stared, mouths open. Margaret sat frozen, her lips slightly parted, eyes jumping between the screen and Brandon. Brandon moved. He lunged, toward the mic, toward me, toward anything he could grab to stop what was happening. But I was ready. I stepped back and let the video do the talking. Because it wasn't over. The footage kept playing. This wasn't just some quick fling with his ex, it was worse. I just don't get it, his ex said, running her finger along his jaw. You're marrying her, but you keep coming back to me. Brandon gave her that same smug smile. You know how it is. She's safe. Safe. That word hit me like a punch. The woman kept going. She doesn't understand you like I do. She never will. Brandon sighed like he was bored. She's just convenient. The room exploded. Gasps, murmurs, shaking heads. Margaret spun toward him. Brandon, she said, her voice shaking. Brandon froze. But she wasn't angry about the cheating. She was angry because he had picked someone else, someone other than her. You said she wasn't a threat, Margaret hissed, grabbing his arm, her nails digging into his skin. Brandon pulled away, his face twisted in frustration. Are you serious right now? And just like that, the strange, creepy bond between them started to break. I watched them fall apart, right there in front of everyone they had fooled for years. But I wasn't done. I turned back to the guests. I know what you're all thinking, I said, raising my voice so everyone could hear. How did I know to record this? How did I know to plant cameras? Whispers filled the room again. I smiled, because there's one more video. I lifted the remote and clicked to the final clip. The screen changed. Now we were in a restaurant, a fancy, private dining room with wine bottles lining the walls, and at the table sat Brandon and Margaret. People in the room stopped breathing again. On the screen, Brandon looked tired. He swirled a glass of whiskey. She's starting to ask too many questions, he said. Margaret leaned in. Then you need to control her. Brandon shook his head. She's not stupid. She's going to figure it out. Margaret's voice dropped. Then do what your father did. Gasps echoed through the hall. Because Brandon's dad, Margaret's husband, was dead. A car crash, they said. At least, that's what everyone thought. Brandon looked uncomfortable. That's different, he said. Margaret's voice was cold. Is it? The crowd went wild. People shouted, chairs scraped. Margaret screamed and lunged toward the projector, but my bridesmaids were already in front of it, blocking her. Brandon looked like he'd seen a ghost. Everyone now knew, my husband wasn't just a cheater, and his mom wasn't just overbearing. She might have killed his father. And she had thought about doing the same to me. I faced them, feeling calm, cold and clear. So, I said, tilting my head, anyone want to explain that? Margaret's breath was fast and shaky, her eyes darted around like she was trapped. Brandon just stood there, pale and shaking. The guests were shouting. Is that real? Did she just say what I think she said? What the hell? I stood tall, holding the mic. Then Margaret snapped. She turned on me, her voice shaking with rage. You sneaky little bit. Gasps rippled through the room again. Some guests stepped back, others looked ready to step in. Brandon flinched, but for once, he didn't defend her. I let out a quiet, controlled laugh. You don't like it when people see the truth, do you? I said. Margaret's fists clenched. Brandon finally spoke up. This isn't what it looks like, he said weakly. I wasn't really. I turned to him so fast he went silent. Which part, Brandon? I asked. The part where you let your mom control you? The part where you cheated on me? Or the part where you sat across from her while she talked about making me disappear? He had no answer. Just opened and closed his mouth like he couldn't breathe. Margaret pointed at me, shaking. You've ruined everything. You think you're so smart, but you don't understand this family. I think I understand just fine, I said calmly. You controlled your husband, and when he stopped obeying, you got rid of him. I looked straight at Brandon. And you? You were next. Her next puppet. I watched his face change, realization hitting him like a truck. He whispered, "Oh my God." For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Not fear of losing me. Fear of her. Margaret went still, her face turned cold and blank. I turned to the guests, my people and his. They came to watch a wedding. They ended up watching a nightmare unfold. You all saw it, I said calmly. If anything happens to me, you'll know exactly who to blame. Margaret laughed, but it didn't sound real. You think you're clever, she said. No one's going to believe you. I raised an eyebrow. They already do. They just watched the video. She looked around the room, panicked. That's when she saw them, phones out, people filming and even live streaming. This wasn't just some family drama anymore. This was proof. Then Brandon grabbed my wrist suddenly. Please, he whispered, his voice shaking. You don't understand. She won't let me go. She never has. She never will. For just a moment, I saw true fear in his eyes. At his own wedding, he was begging me, not to stay, but to save him. From her. Margaret's face twisted with anger, her hand clenched around her wine glass. You weak little boy, she spat. You think she's helping you? She just ruined your life. Brandon let go of me like my touch burned him. And then, something I'll never forget. Margaret raised her hand to slap him. But this time, Brandon didn't just take it. He caught her wrist. The room went completely silent. He stared at her, shaking all over. You don't control me anymore, he said quietly. Margaret froze. For the first time, she looked scared. And then, the biggest shock of all. Someone stepped forward from the crowd. An older man with gray hair. He looked familiar. Margaret's face turned pale. Because standing in front of her, alive and breathing, was someone who was supposed to be dead. Her husband. Brandon's father. The man she had told everyone was gone. Gasps, people whispering, phones still filming. Margaret stumbled back, grabbing a chair to steady herself. You. She said, barely able to speak. Brandon's dad looked straight at her, surprised. Margaret couldn't move. Brandon turned to him, wide-eyed. Dad? His father nodded slowly. I wanted to come back sooner, but I needed proof, real proof. Margaret dropped into the chair like all the strength had left her. The truth was out, she hadn't killed him. He had faked his death to get away from her. And now he was back, to help end her reign for good. The police were called, not just because of the threats against me, but for years of lies, abuse, and stolen money. Margaret was dragged out screaming. Brandon just stood there, stunned, as everything around him fell apart. I didn't know if I felt sorry for him. Maybe just glad it was over. One thing I knew for sure, I was never going to be a stand-in for his mom. And I wasn't going to be someone's backup plan. So when Brandon looked at me with watery eyes and said, "Can we talk?" I smiled, lifted my wedding dress, and walked away. Because this was no longer my mess. I got the marriage annulled. Brandon moved far away, probably to escape the mess his family left behind. As for Margaret, she ended up exactly where she belonged. And me? I started fresh, no drama, no lies, no toxic mother-in-law. Just peace. And honestly, that was the best wedding gift I could have ever given myself.
The first contraction hit as Dr. Collins adjusted the fetal monitor. Through the haze of pain, I watched my husband Travis pace near the window, his phone screen glowing against his face. Another wave of pain crashed through me, and I gripped the metal rails of the hospital bed until my knuckles went white. "Almost there, Mabel," Dr. Collins said, his voice steady and familiar. "The baby's heartbeat is perfect." I nodded, too focused on breathing to respond. 12 hours of labor had stripped away any pretense of dignity, but I didn't care. Our daughter was coming, and nothing else mattered. Travis kept pacing, his footsteps marking time between contractions. He hadn't looked at me once in the past hour, but I blamed it on nerves. First time father jitters, I told myself. The same reason he'd been distant these past few months. Push, Mabel. Push now. The world narrowed to a pinpoint of pain and pressure. I screamed, pushed, and suddenly, there she was. Perfect. Beautiful. Real. "Congratulations," Dr. Collins said, placing her on my chest. "She's absolutely healthy." I counted her tiny fingers through tears, memorizing every detail of her face. "Travis, come see her. Come meet our daughter." He didn't move. "Travis?" When he finally turned, his face was hard, unrecognizable. "I want a DNA test." The room went silent. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. "What did you say?" My voice came out as a whisper. "You heard me." He stepped closer, jaw clenched. "I want a paternity test. Now." The nurse froze, hands hovering over the blanket she'd been about to wrap around the baby. Dr. Collins straightened, his expression darkening. "Travis, this isn't the time or place," Dr. Collins started. "It's exactly the time and place." Travis cut him off, his voice rising. "Before any paperwork gets filed. Before any names go on birth certificates." I clutched our daughter closer, my body trembling. "How dare you? How fucking dare you? How dare I?" He laughed, a hollow sound that echoed off the sterile walls. "You're gone all hours with your cousin Sam. Always at his house, always having dinner with him and Emily. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" "Their family," I choked out. "They've been there for me while you've been working late every night for months." "Working late?" He sneered. "Is that what you tell yourself I've been doing?" The implications hit me like a physical blow. My arms tightened around our daughter, my daughter, as pieces clicked into place. The late nights. The hidden phone calls. The growing distance. "Get out." My voice was steel. "Not until I get that test." Dr. Collins stepped between us. "Mr. Thompson, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Now." Travis's face twisted. "You can't stop me from demanding a paternity test. It's my right." "Your rights don't include traumatizing my patient minutes after delivery." Dr. Collins's tone left no room for argument. "Leave voluntarily, or I'll have security escort you out." Travis's gaze locked with mine over Dr. Collins's shoulder. "This isn't over." "You're right," I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "It's just beginning." He stormed out, leaving behind the acrid taste of betrayal and the first seeds of rage. I looked down at my daughter, peaceful despite the chaos around her, and made a silent promise. Whatever game Travis was playing, whatever his real motives were, he would regret this moment for the rest of his life. I would make sure of it. 3 days after bringing Sophie home, I found Travis's wedding ring on the bathroom counter. He hadn't worn it to work, hadn't even bothered hiding that fact anymore. The gold band sat there like a taunt, catching morning light through the window. I picked it up, feeling its weight, so much heavier than it looked. Behind me, Sophie's soft coos drifted from the nursery monitor. The sound steadied me, kept me from hurling the ring through the window like I wanted to. The front door clicked open downstairs. Travis's footsteps, too light, like he was trying to sneak in. I pocketed the ring and went to meet him. He froze at the foot of the stairs, briefcase in hand, tie loosened. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, but his shirt was freshly pressed. Someone had taken care to iron out every wrinkle. "Where were you?" I asked. "Working late. Big merger coming up." The lie rolled off his tongue smooth as honey. "I crashed at the office." "Funny. I called the office at midnight." No answer. His jaw tightened. I was in the conference room. Phone was on silent. "The cleaning crew said you left at 6. You're having me followed now?" "Just connecting dots, you're leaving everywhere." I pulled out his ring. "Like this one." Color drained from his face, but he recovered quickly. I took it off to shower. 3 days ago? "What do you want from me, Mabel?" His voice rose, sharp edges cutting through the quiet house. Sophie started crying upstairs. "I want the truth. I want to know why you're destroying our family before it's even started." There you go again, making everything dramatic. He set down his briefcase, straightened his tie. "I'm working to provide for that baby you're so sure is mine." The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. "Get out. This is my house too." "The house my father's life insurance paid for?" "That house." I stepped closer, voice low and steady. "The one you convinced me to put only in your name because of some bullshit about tax benefits?" Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe fear. He hadn't expected me to remember that detail. "You should be grateful," he said. "I've given you everything." "No. You've taken everything. But you won't take her." Sophie's cries grew louder. "I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow." He laughed, but it sounded hollow. "With what money? Your part-time salary? The savings you don't have access to anymore?" Ice spread through my veins. "What did you say?" "Check the accounts if you don't believe me." He picked up his briefcase, straightened his shoulders. "I'm going to shower. We can discuss this like adults when you've calmed down." I watched him climb the stairs, each step deliberate and controlled. The moment he was out of sight, I grabbed my phone, logged into our joint account. Zero balance. Savings account? Access denied. Credit card? Declined. My hands shook as I called Sam. He answered on the first ring. "I need help," I whispered, afraid Travis might hear. "He's taken everything." "Stay there. Emily and I are coming over." "No, I need to leave. Now." "While he's in the shower." I was already moving, grabbing Sophie's diaper bag. "Can you meet me somewhere?" "Our place." "I'll call Dr. Collins too, he should know what's happening." "Thank you." I paused at Sophie's door, hearing the shower running down the hall. "Sam? There's something else." "The house. I think he's been planning this for months." "We'll figure it out, Mabel. Just get yourself and Sophie out safely." I ended the call, scooped up my still-crying daughter, and grabbed her ready-packed overnight bag, the one I'd prepared 2 days ago when I first suspected things might come to this. As I strapped Sophie into her car seat, I caught movement in the upstairs window. Travis stood there, watching, phone pressed to his ear. His face was blank, unreadable, a stranger's face. I drove away without looking back, but his expression burned in my mind. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't angry. He looked satisfied. Like everything was going according to plan. But he'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't the same woman he'd married. That woman died in the delivery room 3 days ago, replaced by someone with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Sam's dining room table disappeared under stacks of financial documents and printed emails. Emily paced behind him, bouncing Sophie while scanning bank statements over his shoulder. Dr. Collins sat across from me, his expression growing darker with each page he reviewed. "He's been siphoning money for months," Sam said, tapping his laptop screen. "Small amounts at first, then larger transfers starting about 6 weeks ago. Right around when he started demanding that DNA test." I traced the edge of a bank statement, numbers blurring together. "Where's it all going?" "That's the interesting part." Sam turned his laptop toward me. "Multiple accounts, all under different business names. But look at the registered address." I leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "Wait. That's his mother's old house. The one that's been empty since she died. Empty, but not unused." Emily stopped pacing. "I drove by yesterday. There's a car in the driveway, red BMW, new model." Something clicked. The woman I saw him with last month. At that coffee shop across town. My throat tightened. She was driving a red BMW. Dr. Collins cleared his throat. "Mabel, there's something else you should know." He slid a document across the table. "Travis came to my office yesterday, demanding Sophie's medical records. When I refused, he threatened to sue the hospital." "He can't do that," Emily said. "Can he?" "He's trying to build a case," Sam muttered, fingers flying over his keyboard. "Make it look like Mabel's an unfit mother." Classic misdirection. My phone buzzed, another text from Travis's lawyer. "Third one today." I ignored it. "Got it." Sam's voice sharpened. "Natalie James. 28. Works at Travis's firm as a junior partner. Started there 8 months ago." The room spun slightly. 8 months. Right when everything started changing. "There's more," Sam continued. "She just bought a house. Guess who co-signed the mortgage?" Before I could answer, Sophie started wailing. Emily handed her to me, and I breathed in her baby scent, letting it anchor me. "He's not just having an affair," I said quietly. "He's building a whole new life. While systematically destroying yours," Dr. Collins added. "The timing's too perfect. This was planned." My phone buzzed again. This time, I looked. "They're filing for emergency custody," I whispered. Claiming I'm mentally unstable and fled with Sophie against court orders. My hands started shaking. "There aren't any court orders." "Not yet," Sam said grimly. "But there will be. He's trying to force you back home where he can control the narrative." Dr. Collins stood abruptly. "I need to make some calls." "That DNA test he's demanding? I think I know who's handling it at the lab. We need to make sure it's done properly." "It won't matter," I said. "She's his. He knows she's his. This isn't about Sophie at all." Emily sat beside me, her hand warm on my shoulder. "What do you mean?" "The house. The money. The girlfriend." I looked down at Sophie, now sleeping peacefully. He needed a reason to leave that made him look like the victim. What better way than accusing your pregnant wife of cheating? Sam's typing stopped. "The insurance money. Your father's house. He can't touch either if he's the one who leaves you." "But if I'm unfaithful? If I'm unstable?" The pieces fell into place like a perverse puzzle. He gets everything. Not everything, Dr. Collins said from the doorway. He doesn't get the truth. He pulled out his phone. And I think it's time we shared that with Miss James. No. I stood, decision crystallizing. Not yet. First, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Sam, can you trace those accounts? Find out what he's really doing with the money? Already on it. Emily, that BMW, think you could get its license plate? Maybe follow it? She smiled. I knew those stalking skills from my single days would come in handy. Dr. Collins? I turned to him. I need one more favor. He nodded. Name it. Help me protect Sophie. Whatever happens next, she needs to be safe. You have my word. He paused. Your father would be proud, Mabel. He always said you were stronger than anyone knew. I looked around the room at these people who'd become my fortress, then down at my daughter, the one pure thing in this mess of lies. Travis wants to play games? I said softly. Fine. Let's play. The courthouse loomed gray and imposing in the morning light. I adjusted Sophie's carrier, her warm weight against my chest the only thing keeping me steady. Emily squeezed my hand as we climbed the steps, Sam and Dr. Collins flanking us like guards. Remember, Sam whispered, let the lawyer do the talking. The emergency custody hearing. Travis's latest move in a game I was only beginning to understand. We pushed through heavy doors into fluorescent-lit halls that smelled of dust and desperation. Travis stood outside courtroom 3, designer suit pristine, talking quietly with a woman I didn't recognize. When he saw us, his expression shifted, something predatory flickering behind the professional mask. Mabel. He stepped forward, voice dripping concern. You're looking tired. Maybe this could have been avoided if you'd just come home. Before I could respond, Dr. Collins moved between us. Save it for the judge, Mr. Thompson. The woman beside Travis cleared her throat. Dr. Collins. I wasn't expecting to see you here. Miss James, I presume? Dr. Collins's voice carried just enough volume to echo. Interesting choice of venue for your first meeting with Travis's wife. The woman, Natalie, paled. Her eyes darted between Travis and Sophie, realization dawning in slow, horrible waves. Wife? She took a step back. You said you were separated. That the baby? Natalie, not now. Travis grabbed her elbow, but she yanked away. You said she cheated. That the baby wasn't yours. That's why she stopped, hand flying to her mouth. The corridor fell silent. Even Sophie, usually fussy in crowds, seemed to hold her breath. That's why you what? Emily's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Natalie looked at Travis, then at me, then down at her own stomach. The gesture was unconscious, instinctive, and devastating in its implications. Oh God, I whispered. Travis's lawyer appeared, trying to hustle everyone into the courtroom, but the damage was done. I watched Natalie flee down the hallway, heels clicking against marble, leaving behind the wreckage of her revelation. Inside the courtroom, Travis's lawyer painted me as unstable, paranoid, a flight risk. Presented evidence of my supposed affair with Sam. Demanded immediate return of Sophie to the family home, to Travis's custody. Our lawyer countered with bank records, Dr. Collins's testimony about Travis's behavior at the hospital. Evidence of his systematic financial abuse. But it was Natalie's unplanned appearance, an unspoken confession, that changed everything. The judge denied Travis's emergency petition. Granted me temporary full custody. Ordered Travis to restore access to our accounts pending a full hearing. This isn't over, Travis hissed as we left the courtroom. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I turned to face him, really looked at him for the first time since Sophie's birth. The man I'd married was gone, replaced by someone I never really knew. "You're right," I said quietly. "It's not over. Because now I know why you needed that DNA test. Why you needed me to be the villain in your story." I adjusted Sophie's carrier, making sure Travis could see his face, in miniature. "You needed an escape plan before your new baby arrives. Before anyone could question the timing." He flinched. Actually flinched. "Mabel." Sam's voice, urgent. "We need to go. Now." In the parking lot, Emily grabbed my arm. "Look." Natalie stood by Travis's car, phone in hand, scrolling through what looked like photos. Even from a distance, I could see her hands shaking. "Think she's finding out the truth?" Emily asked. "She's finding out his truth," I corrected. "The same lies he told me, probably. The same promises." Sam checked his phone. "My contact at the firm just confirmed Natalie's been promoted to full partner. Youngest in the company's history. Just like Travis promised me that house would be in both our names." I watched Natalie drop her phone, saw her shoulders start to shake. He's not just building a new life. He's recreating his old one. With upgrades. Dr. Collins joined us, carrying a thick envelope. "The DNA results you never asked for, but Travis demanded. Proof Sophie is his, not that you needed it." "No," I said, watching Travis rush to Natalie, trying to explain, to control the situation just like he'd done with me. "But I think I know someone who might want to see them." I took the envelope, made a decision. "Emily, still got Natalie's license plate?" She nodded. "Good. Because I think it's time she learned exactly what kind of man she's carrying a child for." The coffee shop was empty except for Natalie, who sat in the corner booth, both hands wrapped around a cooling mug. Her designer blazer couldn't hide the slight swell of her stomach. 3 months, maybe 4. I slid into the seat across from her, placed Sophie's carrier beside me. Natalie's eyes fixed on my daughter's sleeping face. "She looks like him," she whispered. "That's why he wanted the DNA test. To create doubt." I pulled out the envelope Dr. Collins had given me. "But there isn't any." Her fingers trembled as she opened it, scanning the results. "He told me you trapped him. That the baby wasn't his." She looked up, eyes red-rimmed. "He said a lot of things. About the house in his mother's name?" I watched her flinch. "The joint accounts you opened together? How did you?" "Because he did the same thing to me. Different house, different accounts, same promises." Sam's text lit up my phone, files downloaded. "You were right about the offshore accounts. He's been moving money," I said, sliding my phone across the table. "Look at the dates." Natalie scrolled through Sam's findings, color draining from her face. "These transfers. They started right after I told him about," she pressed a hand to her stomach. "Right after he started accusing me of cheating." I kept my voice steady. "Right after he convinced you to sign those partnership papers. The papers that made him my supervising partner." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "The ones that give him control over my cases, my clients. Your billable hours? Your partnership track?" The pieces clicked together as I spoke them. "Everything you've worked for?" Her phone buzzed, Travis's face lighting up the screen. She silenced it with shaking hands. "There's more," I said quietly. "Dr. Collins found something in the hospital records. Something Travis tried to hide." Before I could continue, the coffee shop door chimed. Travis strode in, all polished confidence until he saw us together. His mask slipped for just a second, long enough to reveal raw panic. "Natalie, don't listen to her." He reached for her arm. She's unstable, remember? The court documents prove it. The ones your lawyer fabricated? I stood slowly. Or the ones Dr. Collins is submitting to the medical board about your attempted tampering with hospital records? You're lying. But his voice wavered. About the vasectomy you had 3 years ago? The words hit him like physical blows. The one you got right after telling me you wanted to start a family? Natalie made a small, broken sound. What? Check his medical records, I said, never taking my eyes off Travis. The ones Dr. Collins found when you demanded Sophie's DNA test. Funny how that worked out, isn't it? Travis lunged for my phone on the table, but Natalie was faster. She clutched it to her chest, backing away from him. Don't, she whispered. Don't you dare. Baby, let me explain. Like you explained about being married? Her voice rose. About the house? The accounts? About being physically incapable of fathering my child? The coffee shop had gone silent. Even Sophie slept on, oblivious to the destruction unfolding around her. Who is it? Natalie's question cut through the quiet. Which of my clients did you push me to work late with? Was it all just part of your plan? Travis's face hardened. You ungrateful bitch. Both of you. After everything I've given you. Given? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him step back. You've only taken. From both of us. But here's what you didn't count on. I nodded to the window where Sam stood, phone raised, recording everything. We're not playing your game anymore. Natalie straightened, wiped her eyes. I want a full audit of my cases. And a paternity test. She grabbed her bag. And Travis? My father's still on the ethics board. Thought you should know that. She walked out, head high, leaving Travis standing there as his carefully constructed world began to crumble. I gathered Sophie's carrier, paused beside him. You wanted a DNA test so badly? Congratulations. You just destroyed yourself with one. His response was lost in the sound of police sirens approaching, right on schedule, thanks to Sam's evidence of financial fraud. Sometimes, I realized, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Travis's face as they led him away in handcuffs. Financial fraud. Evidence tampering. Attempted coercion. The charges kept mounting, but I felt hollow inside, watching his destruction unfold. Mrs. Thompson? A detective appeared beside me, holding a stack of files. We found something else you should see. I followed her to an interview room, leaving Sophie with Emily in the waiting area. Sam and Dr. Collins were already inside, faces grim. There were other women, the detective said, spreading photos across the table. Before you. Before Natalie. Each photo told the same story, different women, same pattern. Houses in his mother's name. Joint accounts drained dry. Lives systematically dismantled. He's done this before? My voice sounded distant, strange. 3 times. Sam picked up one photo. All professional women. All pregnant when he left. The children? None were his. Dr. Collins's voice was gentle. The vasectomy was 9 years ago, not 3. Everything was a lie, Mabel. From the very beginning. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the table edge, bile rising in my throat. But Sophie is yours, Dr. Collins said quickly. The DNA test proved that. But Travis isn't her father. Memory hit like a physical blow, that Christmas party last year. The drink that tasted strange. The morning I couldn't quite remember. Oh God. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. He planned it. All of it. We found these in his private email. The detective slid over printed messages. He tracked your fertility cycle. Arranged everything. Why? The question burned like acid. Your father's insurance policy. Sam's hands clenched into fists. The one that only pays out to biological grandchildren. The room spun faster. Travis hadn't just betrayed me, he'd violated me in the most fundamental way possible. Used my body, my child, my entire life as pawns in his scheme. Mrs. Thompson? The detective's voice seemed to come from far away. There's more. Your house. It's been sold. What? This morning. Before we arrested him. The money's already been transferred offshore. I thought of Sophie's nursery. The garden I'd planted. My father's old desk in the study. All gone. He can't. The deed was only in his name, Sam said softly. You have 72 hours to vacate. A laugh bubbled up, harsh, hysterical. So that's it? He wins? Takes everything and walks away? Not everything, Dr. Collins said. Not Sophie. A child he arranged to create? My voice cracked. Using methods that we can't prove without destroying her life? What kind of mother am I, bringing her into this nightmare? Emily appeared in the doorway, Sophie fussing in her arms. The kind who'll protect her. The kind who'll make sure she never knows how she was conceived, only how fiercely she's loved. I reached for my daughter, but my legs gave out. Sam caught me before I hit the floor. We have enough to put him away for the fraud, the detective said. The other charges would mean telling Sophie the truth someday. I pulled myself up, steel replacing the weakness in my spine. No. He doesn't get to destroy her too. Mabel, Sam started. No. I stood straighter, decision crystallizing. He wanted to play with lives? Create children for profit? Fine. Let's see how he likes it when the game changes. What are you thinking? Emily asked. I took Sophie from her, breathed in my daughter's sweet baby scent. Dr. Collins, you said there were other women? Other children? He nodded slowly. Find them. My voice was steady now, cold. All of them. Every woman he's destroyed, every child he's tried to use. Let's show Travis what happens when his victims stop being victims. And become what? Sam asked quietly. I thought of Travis in handcuffs, still smirking like he had a secret escape plan. Still thinking he was the smartest person in the room. Survivors, I said. We become survivors. And then we become his worst nightmare. Sophie grabbed my finger, squeezed tight. In that grip, I felt strength returning. Travis thought he'd broken me, but he'd only shown me what I was capable of. Sometimes rock bottom isn't an ending. Sometimes it's just the foundation you build your revenge upon. The prison visiting room smelled of industrial cleaner and desperation. Travis sat across from me, orange jumpsuit stark against his pale skin, that familiar smirk still playing at his lips. Come to gloat? He leaned back, trying to project confidence despite the handcuffs. No. I placed a manila envelope on the table between us. Come to make a deal. His eyes narrowed. I'm already facing 15 years. What could you possibly offer? Names. I slid 3 photographs across the table. Rachel Stevens. Maria Delgado. Sarah Chin. The smirk vanished. Your previous victims, I continued. All successful women. All with children they raised alone. All with stories remarkably similar to mine. Prove it. But his voice wavered. They're in the next room. Along with Natalie. I tapped the envelope. And documentation of every account you've hidden offshore. Every property you've transferred. Every lie you've told. He lunged forward, but the chains caught him. You're bluffing. Rachel's daughter just turned 9. Maria's son is 7. Sarah's twins are 5. I met his gaze steadily. Want to guess what they all have in common? Understanding dawned in his eyes. You can't prove anything. DNA doesn't lie, Travis. Not when it shows all 4 children share the same father. I pushed another document forward. Your medical records. The vasectomy reversal you had before each marriage. The fertility tracking. The drugs found in my system from last Christmas. His mask cracked. What do you want? Everything. The house. The accounts. The trust fund you set up for your future children. I leaned closer. Sign it all over, or every prosecutor in every state where you committed fraud gets these files. You'd do that? He sneered. Let everyone know how your precious daughter was conceived. Sophie will know she was born from love. My love. The rest? I shrugged. Just proves what a monster you are. They'll never believe you. Already have. Sam's voice came from behind me as he entered with Dr. Collins. The DA's very interested in pattern recognition, especially when it involves premeditated assault. And medical board ethics violations, Dr. Collins added, placing more files on the table. Falsified records. Coerced procedures. It's quite a list. Travis's eyes darted between us, calculating. I'll still have my practice when I get out. My reputation is already gone. Natalie stepped into the room, followed by 3 women I recognized from the photos. We're done being silent. All of us, Rachel said. Every single one, Maria added. Sarah placed her hands on my shoulders. Together. Travis slumped, defeat finally reaching his eyes. You've destroyed everything I built. No. I stood, gathering the files. You did that yourself. We're just making sure you can't build it again. The papers are ready, Sam said. Sign them, and we keep the worst of it quiet. Refuse. He gestured to the women around the room. We all go public. Travis's hand shook as he signed, his signature a broken version of its usual flourish. Congratulations, he spat. You got your revenge. This isn't revenge. I gathered Sophie's carrier from where Emily waited by the door. This is justice. For every woman you hurt. Every child you tried to use. And this? He nodded at Sophie, one last attempt to wound. How will you explain her existence? With pride. I lifted my daughter, let her presence strengthen me. Because she'll grow up knowing she saved not just me, but all of us. Your attempt to create the perfect victim created something else instead. What's that? A family. I turned to the women who'd become my sisters in survival. One you'll never understand or destroy. We left him there, broken and alone, his carefully constructed world of lies finally shattered. In the hallway, our children waited, for innocent lives he'd tried to use as pawns, now bound together by something stronger than DNA. Ready? Emily asked, holding the door. I looked at my newfound family, saw our shared strength reflected in each face. Yes. We all are. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about building something beautiful from the ruins they left behind. The key clicked in my father's old desk, now sitting in the corner of my new home office. Inside, the manila envelope waited, final divorce papers, court documents, newspaper clippings about Travis's sentencing. A life dismantled, documented in cold legal terms. Sophie's laughter drifted through the open window, mixed with the voices of Rachel's daughter and Maria's son playing in the backyard. Sarah's twins had already gone home, but their artwork still decorated my refrigerator. Ready? Dr. Collins stood in the doorway, holding a leather-bound journal I'd never seen before. Almost. I closed the desk drawer without taking out the envelope. Some things were better left locked away. He sat across from me, placed the journal between us. Your father gave me this the day before he died. Asked me to hold on to it until you needed it most. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dad's familiar handwriting filled the pages, observations, suspicions, notes about Travis dating back to our engagement. He knew? My voice cracked. He recognized something in Travis. Something he'd seen before. Dr. Collins leaned forward. In your mother's first husband. The world tilted sideways. What? Your father wasn't just my patient, Mabel. He was my best friend. We spent years tracking men like Travis, trying to protect other families. He tapped the journal. Your father knew he was dying. Knew he couldn't protect you himself. So he left breadcrumbs, the insurance policy, the medical records I had access to, even the connection to Natalie's father on the ethics board. All this time, I traced Dad's signature on the last page. He was still watching over me. A crash from outside interrupted us. I rushed to the window, but it was just Sophie knocking over the soccer goal. Emily helped her set it right while Sam recorded everything on his phone, probably for the documentary he was making about Travis's victims, no. Survivors. Your father would be proud, Dr. Collins said softly. Not just of how you survived, but of what you built afterward. He was right. The support group we'd started was helping other women recognize the warning signs. The foundation, funded by Travis's seized assets, provided legal aid to those trapped in similar situations. Even Natalie had found her place, using her law degree to advocate for stronger fraud protections. There's something else. Dr. Collins pulled out an envelope. The ethics board's final decision came today. They're not just revoking Travis's medical license, they're reviewing every case he ever handled. How many? Dozens. Maybe hundreds. He sighed. Some wounds we can heal. Others we can prevent. I stood, decision made. The Foundation's next project, tracking down every patient he might have hurt. Offering help, support, whatever they need. Using his own money to undo his damage? Dr. Collins smiled. Perfect justice. A small hand tugged at my skirt. Sophie stood there, grass-stained and grinning, holding up a dandelion. Behind her, Rachel and Maria chatted on the patio while their children played. Emily arranged snacks while Sam edited footage on his laptop. My new family, built from the ashes of Travis's destruction. For you, Mama, Sophie said, offering the dandelion. I lifted her onto my lap, breathed in the scent of sunshine and childhood. Make a wish? She blew, sending white seeds dancing through the air. Some would take root, I knew. Grow strong despite harsh conditions. Transform into something beautiful and resilient. Just like us. Dr. Collins gathered his things to leave, but paused at the door. Your father's last note, the one he wrote just for you. Did you want to read it? I looked at Sophie, at the family gathering in my backyard, at the Foundation paperwork on my desk. At all the ways love could triumph over hate, truth over lies, justice over revenge. No, I said softly. I think I already know what it says. Because in the end, Dad had given me everything I needed, not just the tools to survive Travis, but the strength to build something better from the wreckage. Something that would help others find their way out of darkness. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy's world. It's about creating a better one in its place.
The credit card statement trembled in my hands, each line item a dagger to my chest. 4 nights at the Grand Riviera Resort. 2 spa packages. Champagne service. All charged to an account I never knew existed. I'm Vanessa, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I knew every detail of my husband's financial life. 15 years of marriage does that to you, or at least it should. But here I sat, in our tastefully decorated home office, staring at proof that Marcus had been living a different life entirely. Darling, are you ready? Mother and father are expecting us in 20 minutes. Marcus's voice floated up from downstairs, perfectly casual, perfectly normal. I shoved the statement into my desk drawer, my heart hammering against my ribs. Just finishing up some work emails, I called back, amazed at how steady my voice sounded. The drive to his parents' house was excruciating. Marcus hummed along to the radio, one hand resting on my thigh like he hadn't just spent thousands at a luxury resort without my knowledge. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but Linda's weekly family dinner wasn't the place for that conversation. There's my boy. Linda's shrill voice greeted us at the door. She wrapped Marcus in a tight embrace before turning to me with considerably less enthusiasm. Vanessa, dear. That's an interesting choice of outfit. I glanced down at my perfectly appropriate black dress. Thank you, Linda. You're looking well. George barely looked up from his newspaper as we entered the dining room. Marcus, son, how's the firm treating you? Couldn't be better, Dad. Just landed the Peterson account last week. Linda beamed, arranging herself at the head of the table like a queen holding court. I always knew you'd do wonderful things, darling. You get that from our side of the family. The familiar sting of her words barely registered tonight. I was too preoccupied with the resort charges, with the growing certainty that something was terribly wrong in my marriage. Speaking of wonderful things, Linda continued, fixing me with her razor-sharp gaze, any news you'd like to share with us, Vanessa? I knew exactly what she was asking. The same thing she asked every Sunday for the past decade. No, Linda. No grandchildren yet. Well, it's not too late to see a specialist. Though at your age. She let the sentence dangle, sharp and poisonous. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table, but it felt hollow. Everything felt hollow now. I wondered if he'd taken someone else to that resort, if that someone else could give Linda the grandchildren she so desperately wanted. More wine, dear. George offered, finally looking up from his paper. I nodded, grateful for the distraction. As I reached for the glass, my phone buzzed with an email notification. A receipt for a jewelry purchase, forwarded from Marcus's account to mine by mistake. A diamond pendant from Tiffany's, purchased the same weekend as the resort stay. I'd never received that pendant. The wine glass slipped from my fingers, shattering against Linda's pristine white tablecloth. Red liquid spread like blood across the fabric as Linda gasped in horror. I'm so sorry, I said, but I wasn't looking at the spill. I was looking at Marcus, at the flash of panic in his eyes when he noticed my phone in my hand. In that moment, I knew. I knew everything. Really, Vanessa, Linda sighed, dabbing at the spreading stain. This is why we can't have nice things. I smiled tightly, already planning my next move. You're right, Linda. Some things just aren't meant to last. The next morning, Marcus's side of the bed was cold. 3 a.m. Conference call with Tokyo, he'd said. The lie sat between us like a wall when he finally came home, briefcase in hand, cologne too fresh for someone who'd been up all night working. We need to talk, I said, watching him loosen his tie. Can it wait? I'm exhausted. He didn't meet my eyes, focusing instead on hanging up his jacket with precise movements. The Grand Riviera Resort. I kept my voice steady, measured. 4 nights, 2 spa packages, champagne service. His shoulders tensed for a fraction of a second before he turned, face perfectly composed. It was a business retreat. I thought I mentioned it. And the Tiffany pendant. A gift. For your birthday. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You weren't supposed to find out about that one. My birthday's in August, Marcus. You bought it in April. The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. His phone buzzed, and he reached for it automatically. Don't. My voice cracked. Don't you dare check that phone right now. He set it face down on the dresser. You're being paranoid, Vanessa. This obsession with my spending isn't healthy. Neither is lying to your wife. His expression hardened. I work 60 hours a week to maintain this lifestyle. I don't appreciate being interrogated in my own home. Your mother called earlier, I said, watching his face carefully. She mentioned meeting a lovely young woman at her charity luncheon. Someone she thinks would be perfect for your firm's marketing department. Mother needs to mind her own business. He loosened his tie further, a nervous tell I'd noticed years ago. Funny, she said the same thing about me last Sunday. Right after commenting on my biological clock. Again. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. You know how she gets. She's traditional, that's all. Traditional enough to play matchmaker while her son is still married. That's not fair. You're twisting things. I pulled out my laptop. Am I? Because I have some interesting emails here. Your mother seems very invested in your lunch meetings with this Rachel person. The color drained from his face. You hacked my email. You left yourself logged in. Sloppy, Marcus. Unlike the careful way you've been deleting your text messages every night. He crossed the room in 2 strides, slamming the laptop shut. Enough. This stops now. You're acting crazy. Crazy? I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. Crazy is gaslighting your wife while your mother plays pimp. His hand gripped my arm, tight enough to hurt. Don't you dare talk about my mother that way. Or what, Marcus? You'll run to mommy. Tell her how your bitter, barren wife is making accusations. He released me like I'd burned him. I can't talk to you when you're like this. Like what? Honest? He grabbed his keys and jacket. I'm staying at the office tonight. Call me when you're ready to be rational. I watched him leave, listening to his car start up and pull away. My phone buzzed, a text from Linda. Darling, I hope you're not bothering Marcus with silly accusations. He works so hard, and stress isn't good for a man. Why don't you come over tomorrow? We can discuss your concerns. I stared at the message, imagining Linda's smug face as she typed it. She probably thought she was being clever, managing her son's marriage crisis. But she'd made a crucial mistake. I opened my laptop again, scrolling through Marcus's emails. There it was, a dinner reservation for tomorrow night. Grand Riviera Restaurant, table for 2, under the name R. Mitchell. Time to meet Rachel. I typed a quick reply to Linda, thank you for the invitation. You're right, we have so much to discuss. Let them think they had me cornered. Let them believe I was the hysterical wife, the bitter disappointment, the problem that needed solving. They had no idea what was coming. I picked up my phone and booked my own table at the Grand Riviera. Tomorrow night, their carefully constructed lies would begin to unravel, one thread at a time. Linda's pristine living room felt like a stage set, everything arranged just so. I sat across from her, watching steam rise from the china teacup she'd placed before me, untouched. "Marcus tells me you've been emotional lately," she said, stirring honey into her own cup with practiced precision. "Does he tell you everything, Linda?" Her hand paused mid-stir. A son confides in his mother. It's natural. Natural. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the email I'd found last night. "Like arranging lunch meetings between your married son and eligible young women." "I'm sure I don't know what you mean." But her fingers tightened around the spoon. "Rachel Mitchell. 28, marketing degree from Stanford, comes from old money. Your kind of people, right?" Color rose in Linda's cheeks. "She's a business associate. Nothing more." "Really?" "Because these emails paint quite a different picture." I started reading aloud. "Dear Rachel, Marcus mentioned how lovely your dinner was. I'm so pleased you two connected. He needs someone who understands his potential." Linda set her cup down with a sharp clink. "You had no right to access private correspondence. Like you had no right to orchestrate my husband's affair. Affairs happen for a reason, Vanessa." Her voice turned silk smooth, poisonous. "When a wife can't fulfill her basic duties." "Basic duties?" I laughed. "You mean providing grandchildren? Tell me, did you interview Rachel about her fertility before setting her up with your son?" "That's enough." Linda stood, hands trembling. "I won't sit here and be accused." "Sit down." My voice cut through her protest like a blade. "We're not finished." Something in my tone made her sink back into her chair. I pulled up another email. "Here's a good one. You forwarding Rachel's resume to Marcus's firm. Oh, and look, dinner reservations at the Grand Riviera, made through your personal assistant. The same weekend Marcus was supposedly at a business retreat. You're twisting things to fit your paranoid narrative." "Am I?" I opened the photo gallery on my phone. These were taken last night. Marcus and Rachel, looking very professional. I especially liked the one where he's kissing her in the parking lot. Linda's face went ash white. "You followed them." "I learned from the best." "Isn't that how you caught your first husband cheating? You told that story at Christmas 3 years ago, remember? After your third martini." She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. "What do you want?" "Want?" I smiled. "I want you to experience what it feels like when your carefully constructed world falls apart. Starting with your charity foundation's annual gala next week." "You wouldn't dare." "The foundation's reputation means everything to you. Just like your reputation in the country club, your position on the hospital board, your perfect family image." Her hands shook as she reached for her tea. "Marcus won't let you destroy everything we've built. Marcus won't have a choice. Unless..." "Unless what?" I leaned forward. "Unless you confess everything to George. Tonight. Tell him how you orchestrated your son's affair, how you've been manipulating everyone around you. Let your husband see who you really are. He'll never believe you over me. He might believe the evidence. Every email, every reservation, every manipulative little message you've sent. I have copies of everything." Linda's facade cracked. "Please. I only wanted what was best for Marcus." "No, you wanted control. And now you're losing it." I stood, smoothing my skirt. "You have until midnight to tell George. After that, everything goes public. Every sordid detail." "You'll destroy Marcus too," she whispered. "He destroyed himself when he chose to follow Mommy's script instead of being honest with his wife." I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Linda. That charity luncheon next week. I'd recommend wearing waterproof mascara. Tears tend to flow when reputations crumble. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, leaving Linda alone with her cold tea and colder reality. My phone buzzed, a text from Marcus asking where I was. I didn't reply. Let him worry. Let him wonder. The game was changing, and for once, I held all the cards. The Grand Riviera's bar felt like neutral territory, though my hands shook as I ordered a martini. Rachel Mitchell was even younger in person, her designer dress and perfectly styled hair screaming, trying too hard. She sat 2 tables away, checking her phone every few minutes, waiting for Marcus. I watched her through the mirror behind the bar, noting how she touched her hair nervously, straightened her silverware, practiced her smile. God, I'd been that young once. That naive. My phone buzzed, a text from Linda. George wants to know if you'll be at dinner Sunday. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I deleted it without responding. The countdown to midnight was ticking, and Linda's world was about to implode. But first, this. Rachel checked her watch again. Marcus was 20 minutes late, unusual for him. Unless. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, working late. Don't wait up. I smiled into my martini. Of course. Linda had warned him about my visit, and he'd called Rachel to cancel. But she hadn't gotten the message, which meant. Excuse me, I said, approaching her table. Are you Rachel? She looked up, startled. Yes. I'm so sorry, but Marcus asked me to let you know he can't make it tonight. Emergency at the office. I sat down uninvited. I'm Vanessa. His wife. The color drained from her face. His. But he said. He told me he was separated. Did Linda tell you that too? When she arranged your first accidental meeting at her charity luncheon. Rachel's hands trembled as she reached for her water. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone, sliding it across the table. The resort weekend in April. The Tiffany pendant. All those lunch meetings Linda arranged. Did you really think you were the first? He said Linda was just being kind, helping him transition. Her voice cracked. Oh God. Linda's never kind without an agenda. She did the same thing with Marcus's first wife. Rachel's head snapped up. First wife. He never mentioned Catherine. Let me guess, he told you I was his only marriage, that I was cold, career-focused, couldn't give him children. Tears welled in her eyes. He said you were separated, focusing on your career in Europe. I laughed, the sound hollow. I haven't left the country in 3 years. Would you like to see this morning's breakfast dishes in our sink? I think I'm going to be sick. She stood abruptly, but I caught her wrist. Wait. There's something you need to see first. I pulled up the emails between Linda and Marcus, discussing Rachel like she was a prized breeding mare. Her face went from pale to green as she read. Perfect childbearing hips, she quoted, voice shaking. Good family background. They were planning. Linda wants grandchildren. You're young, fertile, and moldable. The perfect replacement. I need to go. She grabbed her purse, then paused. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know what you're dealing with. And because I need your help. My help. Linda's charity gala is next week. Every social connection she's ever cultivated will be there. Including the board members of your company. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You want me to tell the truth. About everything. Unless you'd prefer to be the other woman in their carefully scripted drama. She sat back down, hands steady now. Tell me what you need me to do. My phone buzzed again. Linda, Marcus says you're not home. Whatever you're planning, remember who has more to lose. I showed Rachel the message. That's where she's wrong. They're the ones with everything to lose. We're just the collateral damage they never considered. When do we start? I smiled, feeling the pieces fall into place. We already have. Linda's facing her own crisis tonight. By tomorrow, Marcus will be scrambling to contain the damage. And next week, we show them what happens when they underestimate the women they thought they could control. Rachel raised her water glass. To karma. I clinked my martini against it. To karma. And to the truth. George's study smelled of leather and cigar smoke, a sanctuary I'd never been invited into before. He sat behind his mahogany desk, reading glasses perched on his nose, examining the stack of emails I'd printed out. These are serious allegations, Vanessa. His voice remained steady, betraying nothing. They're not allegations, George. They're facts. He removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Linda claims you're having some sort of breakdown. Of course she does. Did she tell you about her midnight confession? She was distraught. Claimed you were blackmailing her. I pulled out my phone, playing the recording I'd made outside their bedroom window last night. Linda's voice, thick with tears, confessing everything to George. His muffled responses. The sound of breaking glass. You recorded that without consent. Like how your wife recorded Catherine's private conversations before Marcus's first divorce. His head snapped up. How do you know about Catherine? I do my research, George. Did you know Linda was behind that divorce too? Another daughter-in-law who couldn't provide grandchildren fast enough. The door opened, and Marcus burst in, Linda close behind. Father, don't listen to. He froze when he saw me. Hello, darling, I said. How was your late meeting last night? Linda's hand gripped Marcus's arm. George, she's trying to destroy our family. No, Linda. You did that yourself. I turned to Marcus. Rachel says hello, by the way. She's particularly interested in those emails about her childbearing potential. Marcus went pale. You talked to Rachel? We had quite the conversation. About your separation in Europe, your lonely nights, your manipulative wife. I smiled. She's very eager to share her side of the story at the charity gala. You wouldn't dare, Linda hissed. Watch me. I stood, smoothing my skirt. Unless what? Marcus stepped forward. Unless you sign these. I pulled out divorce papers, already marked with tabs. Full disclosure of assets, no contest, and a public statement about the affair. That would ruin his career, Linda protested. Better his career than your entire social empire. I turned to George. Did you know your wife's charity foundation has been misappropriating funds? The paper trail is fascinating. George's face hardened. Linda. She's lying. But Linda's voice shook. Am I? Check the foundation's accounts. Specifically the transfers to consulting fees paid to shell companies owned by your tennis instructor. The color drained from Linda's face. You have until the gala, I said, walking toward the door. Sign the papers, admit the affair, and the foundation stays clean. Otherwise. I shrugged. I hear the IRS is very interested in charitable fraud. Vanessa, wait. Marcus reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. Ever again. I met his eyes. You know what's funny? I actually believed you loved me once. But you never did you? I was just the first replacement your mother chose. That's not true. Save it for Rachel. Or whoever comes after her. I turned to Linda. The gala's in 3 days. Tick-tock. George's voice stopped me at the door. Why now, Vanessa? Why not just walk away? I looked back at them, this family that had suffocated me for 15 years. Because some people need to learn that actions have consequences. Even the ones who think they're above them. Linda made a small, broken sound. Marcus stared at the floor. George just watched me, something like respect flickering in his eyes. 3 days, I reminded them. Oh, and Linda. I'd start calling your society friends. I hear damage control works better in advance. I closed the door behind me, letting their panicked voices fade as I walked away. My phone buzzed, Rachel confirming our lunch meeting tomorrow to finalize the gala plans. Everything was falling into place. But as I drove home, my hands shook on the steering wheel. Was I becoming just like Linda, manipulating people's lives for my own ends? Or was this justice, pure and simple? The answer, I realized, probably lay somewhere in between. But it was too late to turn back now. The avalanche had started, and we were all going to get buried in the aftermath. The charity gala glittered with false smiles and designer gowns. I adjusted my black dress, the one Marcus always said made me look severe, and watched Linda work the room, her laugh just a touch too bright. Her gestures slightly too sharp. Rachel stood near the bar, looking younger than ever in pale pink. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away, and my stomach twisted. Something wasn't right. Quite the turnout, Marcus said behind me. I hadn't heard him approach. Shouldn't you be with your date? I nodded toward Rachel. She's not my date. Not anymore. His voice was steady. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? The setup at the restaurant, the recorded confession, all of it. Ice spread through my veins. What did you do? Nothing. Just showed Rachel some interesting emails between you and Catherine. Catherine? The name hit like a slap. How did you? You're not the only one who can hack accounts, Vanessa. Catherine was quite helpful once I explained how you'd been using her story to manipulate Rachel. Across the room, Linda caught my eye and smiled. Not her usual social smile, but something predatory. The Foundation's books are clean now, Marcus continued. Mother made sure of that. And Rachel's decided not to speak tonight after all. Something about not wanting to be part of your vendetta. You're lying. But Rachel wouldn't meet my eyes anymore. Am I? Check your phone. Those emails you saved. The recordings. Funny how technology can fail at the worst moments. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone. Files corrupted. Emails deleted. Everything gone. Did you really think we'd let you destroy this family? Linda appeared beside us, champagne in hand. Oh, darling. You never did understand how things work in our world. Ladies and gentlemen, George's voice boomed from the podium. If I could have your attention. This was wrong. This was all wrong. The speech was supposed to be Linda's, where Rachel would interrupt with the truth about the affair. It's with great sadness, George continued, that I must address certain rumors. My daughter-in-law, Vanessa, has been struggling with some personal issues. The room blurred. Personal issues. The same words they'd used about Catherine. About Marcus's first wife, who disappeared into a private treatment facility after her own accusations. We hope you'll respect our privacy during this difficult time, George finished. And support Marcus as he helps his wife through this challenging period. Applause filled the room. Sympathetic looks turned my way. Linda squeezed my arm, nails digging in. "The car's waiting outside," she whispered. "Unless you'd prefer we discuss your mental health more publicly." "You can't do this. We already have." Marcus's hand pressed against my lower back, steering me toward the exit. "The facility's very discreet. Mother used her hospital board connections to arrange everything. I'll tell everyone the truth." "Who would believe you?" Linda's voice was silk smooth. The bitter wife, imagining affairs, hacking emails, making recordings. Threatening a respected charity foundation. "Marcus tried so hard to help you, but sometimes professional care is the only answer." Rachel watched us pass, guilt and relief warring on her face. She'd chosen their side, their story. Just like Catherine probably had. Outside, a black car idled. The driver held the door open, expression carefully blank. "Don't make a scene," Marcus murmured. "Think of your career. Your reputation." For a moment, I saw it all clearly, the weeks of isolation ahead. The carefully documented episodes, the sympathetic doctors who'd listened to Linda's version of events. Just like they had with Catherine. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and saw something I'd missed before: fear. Not of me, but of them. Of stepping out of the role they'd created for him. "You're right," I said softly. No scene. I took one step toward the car, then another. Linda's grip loosened. Marcus relaxed slightly. That's when I started screaming. My scream shattered the polite facade of the gala like a brick through glass. Guests froze, champagne flutes suspended mid-toast. Through the massive windows, I could see phones coming out, recording. "Perfect. Someone call security," Linda hissed, but I was already walking back inside, Marcus and the waiting car forgotten. "Ladies and gentlemen," I called out, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. "I'd like to make a toast of my own." "Vanessa, don't," Marcus grabbed my arm, but I shook him off. "To family," I said, snatching a champagne flute from a nearby tray. Specifically, to the Hamilton family tradition of making inconvenient wives disappear. Linda surged forward, but George held her back. "Smart man. You're unwell," Marcus said loudly, for the benefit of the watching crowd. "Let me take you home." "Home? Like you took Catherine home?" I turned to the crowd. "Did any of you know Catherine? Marcus's first wife? The one who had a nervous breakdown after failing to provide an heir." Murmurs rippled through the room. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. "That's enough," Linda snapped, but I saw the fear in her eyes. I thought it was enough too, when I found proof of Marcus's affair. But then I found something better. I pulled out my phone. "Catherine sends her regards, by the way. From Seattle, where she's been practicing law for the past 8 years. Under her maiden name." Marcus went pale. "You're lying." "Am I?" Because she had quite a story to tell about her time in the Hamilton family's preferred treatment facility. The same one you had arranged for me tonight. "Security." Linda called out, but no one moved. "Oh, and Rachel." I turned to where she stood, frozen by the bar. "Show them what Marcus gave you last week." Rachel's hand went to her throat, to the Tiffany pendant there. The same design Catherine had described in her email. "He gives it to all his wives," I continued. "Right before they become inconvenient. Don't worry, you can keep it. Consider it payment for your performance tonight." "This is slander," Linda sputtered, but her carefully crafted mask was cracking. "Is it slander when there's proof?" I turned to George. "Check your phone, George." I just forwarded you some interesting documents about the foundation's finances. The real ones, not the sanitized version Linda showed you. George pulled out his phone, his expression darkening as he read. You see, I continued, addressing the crowd, the Hamilton family has a system. Find a suitable wife, pressure her for children, and when she fails, arrange for her replacement. All while funneling foundation money through shell companies to keep everyone quiet. Security. Linda screamed again, but this time several board members raised their hands to stop the approaching guards. We'd like to see those documents, one of them said quietly. Marcus stepped forward, desperation in his eyes. Vanessa, please. We can work this out. Like you worked it out with Catherine. I smiled. Check your email, darling. She's filing an affidavit about her time in that facility. Her lawyer copied the medical board, the police, and every newspaper in the state. The room erupted in chaos. Board members huddled in corners, phones out. Linda collapsed into a chair, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. George stood absolutely still, staring at his phone with growing horror. You've destroyed everything, Marcus whispered. No, I corrected him. You did that yourself. I just turned on the lights. I walked to the podium, where George's champagne sat abandoned. One final toast, I called out. To Catherine Hamilton, wherever she is. May she sleep better knowing the truth is finally out. Rachel appeared at my side, slipping off the Tiffany pendant. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I should have. Keep it, I said. Sell it. Buy something that's actually yours. As I walked out, I heard Linda's wail of despair, followed by the distinct sound of George's disgusted voice. How long have you been stealing from our foundation? I stepped into the warm night air, leaving chaos in my wake. My phone buzzed, a text from Catherine, well done. Coffee sometime. I smiled, hailing a cab. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's making sure everyone else can see it too. The movers worked efficiently, boxing up 15 years of marriage while I sorted through what remained. Each item felt lighter now, stripped of the weight of pretense. My wedding china, Linda's passive-aggressive Christmas gifts, the photos of perfect family dinners, all categorized into keep, donate, or trash. My phone buzzed with another news alert about the Hamilton Foundation scandal. George had resigned from the board. Linda faced criminal charges for financial fraud. Marcus's firm had placed him on indefinite leave pending investigation. These photos. The mover held up our wedding album. Trash. A knock at the door made me turn. Rachel stood there, still wearing that Tiffany pendant. I sold the rest of the jewelry, she said, stepping inside. Donated the money to domestic violence shelters. Good choice. She fingered the pendant. I kept this one as a reminder of how easy it is to become part of someone else's game without realizing it. The movers carried out another box, leaving us alone in the half-empty room. Catherine called, Rachel said. She's starting a support group. For women who've survived situations like this. Survived. The word tasted strange. Is that what we did? You tell me. You're the one who brought it all down. I looked around the stripped walls, remembering Linda's first dinner party here, how she'd rearranged my furniture without asking. Claiming she knew best. I thought revenge would feel different, I admitted. More satisfying. Doesn't it? It feels. I searched for the word. Unfinished. Rachel nodded toward the window. Outside, a familiar black car idled. Marcus? I asked. He's been sitting there for an hour. Says he needs to talk to you. I walked to the window. Marcus looked up, our eyes meeting across the distance. For a moment, I saw him clearly, not the monster I'd made him out to be, not the perfect son Linda had shaped, but something in between. A man who'd let others write his story for so long, he'd forgotten how to write his own. Are you going to talk to him? Rachel asked. No. I turned away from the window. His story isn't mine anymore. My phone buzzed again. Catherine, sending an address for coffee tomorrow. Below it, she'd written, "Welcome to the after." The after. Not the end, not a new beginning, just after. Need help with these last boxes? Rachel asked. Actually, yes. I picked up a box marked kitchen. But first, let's get rid of that pendant. She touched it again, hesitating. How? I smiled, remembering the weight of my own Tiffany pendant, now sitting at the bottom of the harbor. I know a place. We walked out together, past Marcus's car, past the life I'd thought I wanted, towards something undefined but undeniably mine. He didn't follow. The movers finished loading the truck as the sun set, casting long shadows across the driveway. I handed them my new address, a downtown apartment, high enough to see the harbor. Ready? Rachel asked. I looked back at the house one last time. Through the window, I could see the empty spaces where my things had been, the marks on the walls where photos once hung. Linda would hate those marks, those imperfect reminders of what had been lost. Good. You know what the strangest part is? I said, locking the door for the last time. I actually feel sorry for them. Why? Because they'll never understand what they lost. They'll blame everyone else, tell new lies, find new victims. But they'll never know what it feels like to just be real. Rachel unclasped the pendant, letting it dangle from her fingers. To the harbor. To the harbor. We left the house behind, two women carrying a box of broken promises and a piece of jewelry that had once meant ownership. Behind us, Marcus's car started up, then drove away in the opposite direction. I didn't watch it go. I was too busy watching where I was heading.
The phone rings at 2:17 in the afternoon, and just like that, my world splits in half. Before and after. Living and dying. Truth and lies. Vanessa, it's your mother. You need to come now. Uncle Robert's voice cracks, something I've never heard in my 65 years of knowing him. She's had a heart attack. They're working on her at St. Mary's. My fingers go numb. The coffee mug slips, shatters against the kitchen tile. Dark liquid spreads like blood across the white floor. Tom! I call out, my voice echoing through our too big house. Tom, I need you. He appears in the doorway of his home office, wireless earbuds in place, annoyance etched across his face. I'm on a call. My mother had a heart attack. I need you to drive me to St. Mary's. He sighs, that familiar dismissive exhale that's been grinding away at my soul for 23 years. I've got the Peterson merger meeting in 30 minutes. Can't you take an Uber? The coffee spreads, seeping into the grout lines between tiles. I watch it create patterns, little rivers of brown that remind me of the veins on my mother's hands. My mother is dying. I say, each word precise and sharp. And you're worried about a meeting? Don't be dramatic, Vanessa. Your mother's always been healthy as a horse. He taps his earbuds. I need to get back to this call. Something snaps inside me. Maybe it's the last thread of pretense, or perhaps it's just my patience. You know what? Never mind. I'll drive myself. That's my girl, he says, already turning away. Always independent. My hands shake as I grab my keys. The coffee remains unpainted across the floor. A modern art installation of my shattered afternoon. I leave it there, a testament to this moment. The drive to St. Mary's is a blur of red lights and horn blasts. My phone buzzes repeatedly. Aunt Margaret, Emily, Uncle Robert. I can't answer. Can't split my focus between driving and the reality waiting at the hospital. I find a spot in the emergency parking,
crooked across 2 spaces. Let them tow it. Let the whole world burn down. My mother needs me. The emergency room smells like industrial cleaner and fear. Uncle Robert stands by the intake desk, his normally pristine suit wrinkled, his silver hair disheveled. Where is she? I ask. He pulls me into a hug that feels like surrender. They're still working on her. Margaret's back there. They only allowed 1 person. Tom? He asks, looking over my shoulder. Meeting, I say. The word tastes like acid. Uncle Robert's jaw tightens. He's never liked Tom, though he's been too polite to say it outright. Of course he is. A doctor appears, still wearing surgical gloves. There's blood on his scrubs. My mother's blood. The world tilts sideways. Mrs. Mitchell? He asks. I nod, unable to speak. I'm sorry. We did everything we could. The words wash over me like ice water. Uncle Robert's arm tightens around my shoulders, holding me upright as my knees buckle. Would you like to see her? The doctor asks gently. I shake my head. Not yet. I want to remember her alive, laughing in her garden last Sunday, telling me about her new rose bushes, telling me I deserved better, telling me it wasn't too late to start over. My phone buzzes again. Tom's face appears on the screen, probably calling to ask about dinner plans or complain about his meeting. I silence it without answering. Emily's on her way, Uncle Robert says softly. She was in class when Margaret reached her. I nod, still staring at my silent phone. 23 years of marriage, and my husband couldn't be bothered to drive me to my mother's deathbed. The thought settles in my chest like a stone, heavy with certainty. Mom was right. It's not too late to start over. Emily bursts through the emergency room doors like a whirlwind, her dark hair wild, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. She looks so much like me at her age that for a moment I forget to breathe. Mom! She crashes into me, and I hold her tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. I got here as fast as I could. Is Grandma? I shake my head against her shoulder. She stiffens, then pulls back to look at me. Where's Dad? The question hangs between us like a razor wire. Before I can answer, Aunt Margaret emerges from the corridor, her face drawn and pale. She takes one look at us and opens her arms. Emily hesitates, glancing at me again. He had a meeting, I say quietly. The Peterson merger. Emily's expression shifts, confusion, then understanding, then something harder. She's seen this before countless times. The missed birthdays, the empty chair at her graduation, the perpetual excuse of work that always seems to matter more than family. Of course he did, she mutters, turning to accept Aunt Margaret's embrace. Uncle Robert's hand finds my shoulder. The doctor needs some paperwork filled out, he says gently. Why don't you let me handle that? I nod, grateful. Forms and signatures feel impossible right now, like trying to solve complex equations while drowning. My phone buzzes again. Tom's message lights up the screen. How's your mother? Meeting ran long. Ordering takeout for dinner. Emily reads the message over my shoulder and makes a sound. Half laugh, half sob. Seriously? Grandma just died and he's asking about dinner. Emily. I start, but she cuts me off. No, Mom. Don't defend him. Not this time. She runs her fingers through her tangled hair. A gesture so like her father it makes my chest ache. You know what? I'm done pretending everything's okay. Grandma always said. She stops abruptly, tears welling in her eyes. What did she say? I ask, though I think I already know. She said you deserved better. That we both did. Emily wipes her eyes roughly. She was right. Aunt Margaret moves closer, her voice low and steady. Helen worried about you, Vanessa. She saw what this marriage was doing to you. Even if you couldn't. Or wouldn't, Uncle Robert adds quietly. The truth of their words settles over me like ash. 23 years of making excuses, of smoothing things over, of pretending Tom's indifference was just his way. 23 years of watching my mother's concerned looks, of fielding her gentle suggestions about therapy or separation. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Tom. Should I wait dinner for you? Emily makes that sound again, but this time it's pure disgust. She grabs my phone and types rapidly before I can stop her. Emily, don't. Too late, she says, handing the phone back. Someone needed to tell him. I read her response. Mom's mother just died. Don't wait up. Better yet, don't wait at all. The 3 dots appear immediately, showing Tom is typing. Then they disappear. Reappear. Disappear again. Finally, a single message. We'll discuss this attitude when you get home. Discuss what? Emily's voice rises. The fact that his wife's mother died and he couldn't be bothered to show up? That he's more concerned about dinner than supporting his family. Lower your voice, sweetheart, Aunt Margaret says, but there's approval in her eyes. A nurse approaches, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Mitchell? We need to discuss arrangements. The word arrangements hits me like a physical blow. My mother is dead, and my husband is worried about takeout. The absurdity of it all threatens to overwhelm me. I'll help, Emily says firmly, taking my arm. We don't need him for this. As we follow the nurse, I realize Emily's right. We don't need him. Maybe we never did. My mother's last words to me echo in my mind. It's never too late to start over, sweetheart. Never too late to demand more. I squeeze Emily's hand, feeling stronger than I have in years. Tom wants to discuss attitudes? Fine. We'll discuss plenty when I get home. Starting with divorce papers. The funeral home smells like artificial flowers and secrets. I sit at the mahogany desk, staring at Mom's life insurance documents, while the funeral director drones on about payment options. Something's wrong with the numbers, but my grief-addled brain can't quite grasp what. Mrs. Mitchell, he says, sliding another form across the desk. We'll need the initial payment today. The policy information your husband provided seems to have some discrepancies. Discrepancies. The word feels wrong in my mouth. The policy appears to have lapsed 3 months ago. The room tilts slightly. That's impossible. My mother never missed a payment in her life. He clears his throat. According to our records, the automatic payments stopped when the account was closed. What account? More paper shuffling. The joint account she shared with your husband. He was helping manage her finances, correct? The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. Tom had offered to help with Mom's finances last year, claiming his financial expertise would be beneficial. She'd agreed reluctantly, after he'd worn her down with his usual mix of charm and condescension. My hands shake as I pull out my phone, opening the banking app. The joint account I share with Tom shows a balance far lower than it should be. I start scrolling through transactions and my stomach drops. Casino withdrawals, online gambling sites, wire transfers to accounts I don't recognize. The funeral director's voice seems to come from very far away. Mrs. Mitchell? Are you all right? I need a moment, I manage to say, standing up so quickly my chair scrapes against the floor. I need to make a call. In the hallway, I dial Uncle Robert's number. He answers on the first ring. The life insurance lapsed, I say without preamble. Tom's been stealing money. Not just from me, from Mom. A long pause. Come to my office. Now. 20 minutes later, I sit across from my uncle's desk while he pulls up financial records on his computer. As Mom's attorney, he has access to everything. Jesus Christ, he mutters, clicking through screens. Vanessa, this goes deeper than you think. The house equity line, your retirement accounts, Emily's college fund. Each word hits like a physical blow. How much? Initial estimate? Close to 700,000. The room spins. That's not possible. Someone would have noticed. The bank. Tom works in finance. He knows how to hide things. Uncle Robert's voice hardens. He's been bleeding you dry for years. My phone buzzes. Tom's face appears on the screen along with the text. Where are you? We need to discuss funeral arrangements. A laugh bubbles up in my throat, harsh, ugly. Discuss funeral arrangements? He stole my mother's life insurance money, and he wants to discuss arrangements. Don't respond, Uncle Robert says sharply. We need to handle this carefully. I'm calling Sarah Chun. Your criminal lawyer friend? He nods grimly. We're going to need her. But first, we need to secure what's left. Do you have any accounts he can't access? Before I can answer, another text from Tom appears. Found the coffee mess in the kitchen. Had Maria clean it up. You're welcome. Don't forget we have dinner with the Petersons tonight. The casual entitlement of it, the assumption that I'll play my usual role, Smile through dinner while he networks. Something snaps inside me. I want him destroyed. I say, surprised by how calm my voice sounds. Not just divorced. Destroyed. Uncle Robert studies me for a long moment. He will be. But we have to be smart about this. He doesn't know that we know. So what do? Go home. Act normal. Have dinner with the Petersons. He starts typing on his computer. Let him think he's still in control while we gather evidence. Can you do that? I think of Mom, of all the times she told me I was stronger than I knew. Of Emily's college fund, emptied by her father's addiction. Of 23 years of subtle manipulation and calculated neglect. Yes, I say, standing up. I can do that. I learned from the best, after all. What do you mean? I smooth my skirt, check my makeup in my phone's reflection. Tom taught me everything I know about pretending. The Peterson dinner feels like a performance in hell. I sit at our oversized dining table, watching Tom charm our guests while my skin crawls with every practiced laugh, every rehearsed story. He's wearing his favorite blue tie, the one I gave him for our 20th anniversary, paid for with money he probably gambled away. Vanessa's taking some time off, Tom explains smoothly, reaching for the wine bottle. Family matters. Sandra Peterson's face crumples with manufactured sympathy. Oh yes, we heard about your mother. Such a shock. I grip my fork tighter, imagining driving it through Tom's hand as he pours more wine. Yes, I manage. Quite unexpected. Speaking of family, Tom continues, Emily's considering law school. Following in your footsteps, John. John Peterson beams. Smart girl. The firm's always looking for fresh talent. My phone vibrates in my lap. A text from Sarah Chun, Uncle Robert's lawyer friend. Documents ready. Meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Excuse me, I murmur, standing. I need to check on dessert. In the kitchen, I lean against the counter, breathing deeply. The catering company's tiramisu sits perfectly plated on the silver tray. Another performance piece in this elaborate charade. Need help? I startle. Sandra Peterson stands in the doorway, her expression oddly intent. I'm fine, I say automatically. She steps closer, voice dropping. Are you? Because I recognized that look during dinner. I used to wear it myself. I don't. My first husband was a gambler too. She smooths her expensive blouse. Lost everything before I caught on. The signs are always there, aren't they? We just choose not to see them. The tiramisu blurs as tears threaten. How did you? No. She smiles sadly. The way Tom keeps checking his phone under the table. The slight tremor in his hands. The desperate edge to his charm. She pulls something from her pocket. A business card. When you're ready, call her. Best divorce attorney in the state. Before I can respond, Tom's voice booms from the dining room. Ladies, we're dying of dessert deprivation out here. Sandra squeezes my arm and helps me lift the tray. As we return, I catch Tom sending another furtive text, his jaw tight with tension. Later, after the Petersons leave, Tom loosens his tie. Good night, all things considered. John seemed impressed about Emily's law school plans. Emily isn't going to law school. He blinks. What? She's never wanted to be a lawyer. She's applying to art therapy programs. I start gathering plates. But you'd know that if you ever actually listen to her. Don't start, Vanessa. Not tonight. He reaches for his phone again. Expecting an important call? His head snaps up. Something flickers across his face. Fear? Work never stops, you know that. Right. Work. I set the plates down carefully. Like the work you did managing my mother's finances? The color drains from his face. What are you talking about? The life insurance policy lapsed, Tom. Funny timing, considering all those casino withdrawals from her account. He recovers quickly, switching to his patronizing smile. You're upset about your mother. You're not thinking clearly. Why don't you take one of your pills and... I'm thinking very clearly. I pull out my phone, show him the banking screenshots. $700,000, Tom. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? His facade cracks. I can explain. The market's been volatile. I had to make some temporary adjustments. Save it for your lawyer. He grabs my arm as I turn away. Don't threaten me, Vanessa. You have no idea what you're doing. Who do you think pays for this house? Your clothes? Your entire lifestyle. I look at his hand on my arm, then into his eyes. You're right. I don't know what I'm doing. I smile, channeling his own practice charm. Yet, the threat in that single word hits him. His grip loosens. Get some sleep, Tom, I say softly. You look tired. Must be all that work you're doing. I leave him standing there, his phone buzzing again in his pocket. Upstairs, I send a quick text to Sarah Chun. Make it 8 a.m. I'm ready. Sarah Chun's office feels like a war room. Bank statements and legal documents cover every surface, each page revealing another layer of Tom's deception. I stare at a credit card statement, charges from a jewelry store I've never heard of, dated last Valentine's Day. He's been busy, Sarah says, highlighting another suspicious transaction. And not just with gambling. My throat tightens. There's someone else? Several, potentially. But that's not our primary concern. She slides a document across the desk. This is. The paper blurs before my eyes. Foreclosure notice. Our house, my house. The one I'd spent 23 years turning into a home. He took out a second mortgage without your knowledge, Sarah explains. Technically illegal, but he forged your signature quite convincingly. A knock interrupts us. Uncle Robert enters, his face grim. The SEC filing just came through. Tom's company is under investigation for financial irregularities. How bad? I ask. Criminal charges bad. He sits heavily. The Peterson merger was a smokescreen. The whole company's about to implode. My phone buzzes. Emily. Mom, where are you? Dad's acting weird. He's packing up his office stuff. I'll call you back, sweetheart. I look at Sarah. How much time do we have? Hours, maybe. Once the SEC announcement goes public. He'll run, Uncle Robert finishes, with whatever money he can grab. Sarah starts gathering papers. We need to freeze accounts immediately. File emergency motions. Another text from Emily. Mom, seriously. He's asking about your mother's safety deposit box. The blood drains from my face. The jewelry. Mom's jewelry. What jewelry? Sarah asks sharply. My mother's collection. Family heirlooms. She kept them in a safety deposit box at First National. My hands shake as I type a response to Emily. He's trying to access it? He can't, Uncle Robert says. Helen changed the access permissions last month. Only you can open it now. I remember Mom's last visit to the bank, how insistent she was about updating the paperwork. She knew. Somehow she knew. My phone rings, Tom's face appearing on screen. I answer on speaker. Darling, his voice oozes charm. I need a favor. Your mother's safety deposit box. I need to inventory the contents for the estate. Could you meet me at the bank? Sarah shakes her head violently. I'm rather busy today, I say carefully. Perhaps tomorrow? It really needs to be now. For legal purposes. A pause. Unless you don't trust me? The facade cracks slightly on those last words. A hint of desperation bleeding through. Of course I trust you, I lie smoothly. But I'm having lunch with Emily. Why don't you join us? We can go to the bank afterward. Emily's not answering my calls. That's odd. She's sitting right here. I watch Sarah frantically typing on her laptop. Tom? Is everything okay at work? The line goes dead. He's panicking, Uncle Robert says quietly. That makes him dangerous. Sarah looks up from her laptop. Account freeze orders are processing. I've notified the SEC about potential flight risk. But we need to move fast on the safety deposit box. If there's anything valuable. My phone chimes again. A text from an unknown number. Your mother knew what he was. She left something for you. Back of the box. Don't let him find it first. Aunt Margaret, I breathe. She must have been with Mom when. We need to go, Sarah interrupts. Now. Before he figures out we're onto him. I stand gathering my purse. What about Emily? I'll pick her up, Uncle Robert offers. Take her to our house until this blows over. As we rush to the elevator, another text arrives from Tom. I tried to protect you from this. Remember that. The threat in those words chills me. But underneath the fear, something else burns. rage pure and clarifying. He stole from my mother. Tried to steal her last gift to me. Used our daughter as leverage. Sarah, I say as we reach her car, forget playing defense. I want everything. The house, the accounts, his reputation. Everything. She smiles grimly. Now that's what I wanted to hear. The safety deposit box lies open before me, empty except for a single envelope. Mom's jewelry, generations of family history gone. The bank manager shifts uncomfortably behind me. Mr. Mitchell accessed the box an hour ago, she explains. He had the proper documentation. Forged documentation, Sarah corrects sharply. She's already on her phone, alerting authorities. My hands shake as I open the envelope. Inside, a handwritten note from my mother. My dearest, if you're reading this, Tom got here first. But remember, I always taught you to keep your real treasures closer to home. Love, Mom. My phone buzzes. Emily's text makes my blood freeze. Dad's at the house. He's acting strange. Says we need to talk. Sarah grabs my arm. Don't. We'll call the police. He's with my daughter. I'm already moving. Call them, but I'm going. The drive home is a blur. I find them in Tom's study. Emily perched nervously on the leather sofa. Tom standing by the window. Still in his office clothes but somehow disheveled, undone. Family meeting? I ask, keeping my voice steady. He turns and I barely recognize him. His usual polished facade has cracked, revealing something desperate underneath. You've been busy today. So have you. How much did Mom's jewelry fetch? Emily's sharp intake of breath tells me she didn't know. Dad, you didn't. I did what I had to do. He moves to his desk, opens a drawer. To protect this family. By stealing? Gambling away our savings? Having affairs? Affairs. Emily stands. What affairs? Tom slams the drawer shut. Enough. I had a plan. Everything was under control until you started interfering. Control. I laugh and it sounds foreign even to me. Is that what you call forging my signature? Emptying our daughter's college fund. Emily makes a small wounded sound. My college fund? I was going to replace it, Tom insists. The Peterson merger was a fraud, I finish. Like everything else about you. He moves suddenly and something glints in his hand. Mom's favorite pearl necklace. One piece left. Thought, maybe we could start over. I'll get help. Counseling. Whatever you want. The pearls catch the light, and I remember Mom wearing them at my wedding, her eyes full of concern she tried to hide. She knew even then, didn't she? Whatever I want. I step closer. I want the last 23 years back. I want my mother to have died knowing her grandson's education was secure. I want. Mom. Emily's voice cuts through my rage. He's crying. And he is. Tom Mitchell, master of manipulation, stands before us with tears streaming down his face. For a moment I almost weaken. Then I see his other hand moving toward his pocket. Emily, I say carefully, go to Uncle Robert's house. Now. But. Now. She hesitates, then runs. Tom doesn't try to stop her. You know what's in my pocket? He asks quietly. Plane ticket? Fake passport. He pulls out his phone. One button. One call to my friends at the SEC. They'd love to know about Uncle Robert's creative accounting from the 90s. Aunt Margaret's tax issues. The family's not as clean as you think. The bottom drops out of my world. You'd destroy them too? I'm already destroyed. His smile is terrible. Might as well make it a family affair. My phone buzzes, Sarah, probably with the police. But it's too late. The damage is done. What do you want? A head start. 24 hours. You keep the house, what's left of the accounts. I keep the evidence against your family. He holds out the pearls. And you keep these. As a reminder. The pearls feel heavy in my palm. Not just jewelry now, but the weight of an impossible choice. Save my family or serve justice. Mom's voice echoes in my head. Keep your real treasures closer to home. I look at Tom, this stranger I spent half my life with, and make my decision. 24 hours, I say. Then I burn your world down. He nods once and walks past me. The front door clicks shut with devastating finality. I sink into his chair. pearls clutched in my fist, wondering if revenge is worth the price of becoming him. 23 hours and 47 minutes after Tom walked out, I find Mom's old recipe box in the back of the kitchen cabinet. Inside, wrapped in yellowed newspaper, lies a small red USB drive. My hands shake as I plug it into my laptop. Folders appear, dozens of them meticulously labeled with dates going back 5 years. Financial records, email screenshots, photos of Tom with various women, bank transfers, gambling receipts. My mother, the quiet gardener who never touched a computer, had been building a case against my husband for years. My phone rings. Saracen. Vanessa, we found him. Private airfield outside the city. Flight plan filed for Buenos Aires. 13 minutes left of his head start. And the SEC evidence against my family? Bluff. We checked, there's nothing. He played you. The recipe box feels heavy in my hands. How fast can you get to the airfield? Already on my way. Police too. I grab my keys, the USB drive secure in my pocket. Tell them to wait. I need 5 minutes with him first. The private terminal is small, lit by fluorescent lights that make everything look sickly. Tom stands at the counter, arguing with the clerk. He's wearing the same suit from yesterday, but somehow he's aged a decade. Problems with your flight? I ask. He spins, face twisting. You're early. Mom always said punctuality was a virtue. I hold up the USB drive, along with keeping good records. The color drains from his face. What is that? Everything. Mom knew what you were doing. Every transaction, every affair, every lie. I step closer. She was protecting me all along. The jewelry in the safety deposit box? A trap. She knew you'd go for it first. He lunges for the drive. I sidestep easily. He's not as quick as he used to be. It's over, Tom. SEC agents are outside. Police too. You promised 24 hours. His voice cracks. You're just like me, breaking promises when it's convenient. No. I set Mom's recipe box on the counter. I'm like my mother. Patient, thorough, and done with your games. He laughs, a hollow sound. What do you want? Money. I can get more. I want you to know what it feels like. To realize everything you built was a lie. That someone you trusted was watching, waiting, collecting evidence of every mistake. His face hardens. You really think you can survive without me? You're nothing but a housewife with. With what? A daughter you gambled away the future of? A mother who outsmarted you? A family who actually loves me? I open the recipe box. Look inside. He hesitates, then peers in. Among the recipe cards lies a single sheet of paper, Mom's last bank statement. The one showing her real account, with enough zeros to make his eyes widen. She left everything to me, I say quietly, the day before she died. Almost like she knew what was coming. You bitch. He grabs for the box, but freezes at the sound of doors opening behind us. Time's up, I say as Saracen enters with 2 FBI agents. Oh, and Tom? The pearls were fake. Mom sold the real ones years ago, to pay for Emily's secret trust fund. They lead him away, his protests echoing through the terminal. Sarah squeezes my shoulder. You okay? I look down at the recipe box, generations of family wisdom, love disguised as instructions for pot roast and apple pie. Mom's final gift wasn't the money or the evidence. It was the reminder that real strength comes from protecting what matters, not destroying what hurts you. I'm better than okay, I say, closing the box gently. I'm free. Outside, the sun rises over the airfield. Somewhere across town, Emily is safe with Uncle Robert and Aunt Margaret, probably making breakfast and planning her future. A future secured by a grandmother who saw everything and said nothing, until exactly the right moment. Mom always did have perfect timing. The garden blooms exactly as Mom planned it. Late autumn roses climb the trellis, their deep red petals catching the morning light. I kneel in the soft earth, transplanting the seedlings she started in her greenhouse, her last project, now mine to finish. Emily appears beside me, 2 steaming mugs in hand. The prosecutor called. Dad took the plea deal. I accept the coffee, breathing in its warmth. How do you feel about that? Honestly. She settles onto the garden bench. Relieved. No trial means no more secrets coming out. No more pretending. The morning paper lies folded on the bench. Tom's guilty plea relegated to a small column on page 6. The mighty falling quietly without fanfare. Uncle Robert says the restitution payments will start next month. Emily continues. Not that we need them. No, I agree, thinking of Mom's hidden accounts, the careful planning that ensured our security. But it's not about the money. It's about consequences, she finishes. The wisdom in her voice makes my chest ache. She's grown so much these past few months. I brush dirt from my hands and join her on the bench. I found something in Mom's study last night. I think you should see it. From my pocket, I pull out a small envelope. Inside, a photograph. Emily at 5 years old, perched on Mom's lap while they plant marigolds. Behind them, partially hidden by the greenhouse door, Tom stands watching. His expression a mix of confusion and something like fear. She knew even then, Emily says softly. Didn't she? She knew a lot of things. I touched the photograph gently, including how to play the long game. A car pulls into the driveway. Emily's new boyfriend, Michael, right on time for Sunday brunch. He emerges carrying a folder of tax documents. Research for Uncle Robert's case against Tom's former business partners. Emily stands, brushing off her jeans. Speaking of long games, Michael found something interesting in Dad's old company records. Want to hear about it over breakfast? I watch her walk toward him, confident and purposeful. She has her grandmother's steel beneath her gentle exterior. A quiet strength that doesn't need to announce itself. The morning mail sits unopened on the kitchen counter. On top, a letter from the prison where Tom awaits sentencing. I don't need to read it to know what it contains. More explanations, more justifications, more attempts to rewrite our history. I feed it into the garden shredder, letting the pieces scatter across Mom's flower beds as mulch. She would appreciate the symbolism, turning poison into fertilizer, decay into growth. Inside, Emily and Michael spread papers across the breakfast table while Aunt Margaret pours coffee. Uncle Robert peers at financial statements through his reading glasses, making notes in the margins. Look at this, Michael says as I enter, pointing to a highlighted section. The pattern goes back further than we thought. There are others involved, bigger players. I should feel triumph, knowing we've uncovered more evidence, more ways to ensure justice. Instead, I feel something quieter. A peaceful certainty that Mom would approve of this moment. Not because of the revenge or justice, but because her kitchen is full of family working together, protecting what matters. The recipe box sits on the windowsill above the sink, catching morning light. Inside, between cards for pot roast and apple pie, lie the seeds of my mother's legacy. Not just the evidence that brought down Tom, but the wisdom to know when to fight and when to grow. Emily laughs at something Michael says, the sound bright and unguarded. Aunt Margaret shares a knowing look with Uncle Robert. The garden outside continues its slow, steady blooming. I think of Tom in his prison cell, surrounded by concrete and steel, and realize that true revenge isn't about destruction at all. It's about flourishing despite those who tried to clip your roots. Mom knew that too. She always did have the best gardening advice.
The number swam before my eyes as I stared at my laptop screen. $3,000 transferred to an account I'd never seen before. Another $4,000 the month before that. The transactions stretched back almost a year, each one a precise knife twist in my gut. I'm Emily, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I knew everything about my husband's finances. We'd built our life on transparency, or so I believed. The shared spreadsheets, the joint accounts, the careful planning, all of it now felt like an elaborate joke at my expense. Hey, babe, have you seen my charcoal pencils? Tom's voice floated down from his studio upstairs. The same voice that had promised me honesty 3 years ago at the altar. The same voice that had apparently been lying to me for months. No, I called back, my own voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands. Tom, could you come down here for a minute? The wooden stairs creaked under his feet. He appeared in the doorway, paint-splattered jeans, and that easy smile I used to find so charming. Now it just made my stomach turn. What's up? He leaned against the doorframe, casual as ever. Want to explain these transfers to an account under your parents' name? The smile flickered, died. His shoulders tensed, and for a moment, he looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then the mask slipped back into place. Oh, that. Mom and Dad have been having some trouble with their mortgage. I've been helping them out a bit. A bit? I turned the laptop toward him. $7,000 last month alone. Without telling me. They're my parents, Emily. What was I supposed to do, let them lose their house? You were supposed to talk to me. We're supposed to be partners. He ran a hand through his hair, leaving a streak of blue paint near his temple. You wouldn't have understood. You've always been weird about money. Weird about money? The laugh that escaped me didn't sound like my own. Is that what you call wanting to know where our savings are going? They raised me, Emily. They gave me everything. I owe them. And what about what you owe me? What about our future? I scrolled through the transactions again. This is our down payment for a house. Our emergency fund. Our future children's college fund. Their family, he said, as if that explained everything. I'm your family too. Or at least I thought I was. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I caught his mother's name on the screen. Of course. Margaret always had impeccable timing. I need to take this, he said, already turning away. No. I slammed the laptop shut. You need to explain why you've been lying to me for months. I haven't been lying. I just didn't want to worry you. Didn't want to worry me? The words tasted bitter. Or didn't want me to stop you from bankrolling your parents' lifestyle? His face hardened. You don't understand my relationship with them. You're right. I don't understand lying to your spouse. I don't understand stealing our future to fund your parents' present. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered it, turning his back to me. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm on my way. Just need to grab those papers. I sat there, watching my husband walk away from our marriage one step at a time, up those creaking stairs to his studio. The truth hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't just fighting Tom's deception. I was fighting against Margaret's influence, against years of manipulation I'd been too blind to see. The laptop screen glowed accusingly in the growing darkness. Somewhere upstairs, Tom was probably already arranging another transfer, another betrayal dressed up as filial duty. Fine. If this was how they wanted to play it, I could play too. But they were about to learn that I played to win. The doorbell chimed just as I finished hiding the bank statements in my home office. Margaret's silhouette loomed through the frosted glass, her shadow stretching across our welcome mat like an omen. Emily, darling. She swept in, designer purse swinging from her arm, bringing with her the cloying scent of expensive perfume. I brought lunch. We need to talk about the garden party next weekend. I forced a smile, knowing exactly what was coming. Every conversation with Margaret was a carefully choreographed dance of criticism wrapped in sugar-coated concern. Actually, I have a work deadline. Nonsense. She was already unpacking containers onto my kitchen counter. Family comes first. That's something modern women seem to forget these days. The way she said modern women made it sound like a disease. I watched her arrange the food with military precision, noting how she'd brought enough for 3, despite knowing Tom was at his studio. Tom tells me you've been asking questions about our financial arrangements. Her voice was casual, but her eyes were sharp as she handed me a plate. I hope you understand how important family support is. Support should go both ways, Margaret. Of course it does, dear. She settled up my kitchen island like she owned it. We've given Tom everything, his education, his artistic opportunities. Now it's natural for him to want to give back. My fork scraped against the plate. With our joint savings? Marriage is about sharing, isn't it? She dabbed her lips with a napkin. Though I suppose that's hard to understand when you're so focused on your career. The word dripped with disdain. I thought about the hidden bank statements, about Tom's betrayal, about all the times Margaret had undermined me while smiling to my face. Actually, I understand sharing perfectly. What I don't understand is secrecy. Oh, Emily. She reached across the counter to pat my hand. I resisted the urge to pull away. You're making such a fuss over nothing. Tom's just being a good son. Surely you don't want to come between him and his family? I am his family. Of course you are, dear. For now. She smiled, showing too many teeth. But blood is thicker than water, isn't it? My phone buzzed, a message from Tom. Mom says you're being difficult about the money. Can we talk later? Of course. She'd probably texted him the moment she sat down. Margaret, I said, setting down my fork. Do you know how much Tom has been transferring to your account? Money is such a vulgar topic of conversation. Not when it's my money being spent without my knowledge. Her smile faltered. Tom knows what he's doing. He doesn't need his wife questioning his decisions about his family. Our family. Our decisions. Our money. You're being very ungrateful, Emily. She stood, gathering her things. After everything we've done for you both. Robert and I have always treated you like a daughter. No, I said quietly. You've treated me like a threat. She paused at the door, her face a perfect mask of hurt confusion. I can see you're upset. We'll discuss this when you're thinking more clearly. The garden party is at 2 on Saturday. Wear something appropriate this time. The door clicked shut behind her, but her presence lingered like a bad smell. My phone buzzed again, Tom asking why I was upsetting his mother. Of course he'd take her side. He always did. I opened my laptop, pulling up our joint account again. A new transaction had posted while Margaret was here, another $2,000, transferred not 30 minutes ago. She must have texted Tom during lunch, and he jumped to do her bidding without a second thought. My hand shook as I took screenshots of everything. 3 years of marriage, and I'd never seen what was right in front of me. I wasn't just fighting financial betrayal, I was fighting a carefully constructed system of control. With Margaret pulling the strings and Tom dancing to her tune. Fine. If they wanted to play family politics, I could play too. But first, I needed to make a call. I picked up my phone and dialed. Samantha? I need your help. It's time to start planning my exit strategy. The gallery opening should have been Tom's moment of triumph. Instead, I stood in the corner, clutching a glass of cheap wine, watching my husband lie through his teeth about our financial situation. The series sold remarkably well, he told a potential buyer, gesturing at the abstract canvases lining the walls. Almost everything's been claimed already. I knew better. I'd seen the real sales figures that morning, exactly 2 pieces sold, and at half the asking price. The rest was fiction, just like our marriage. Emily. Margaret's voice cut through the crowd. She glided toward me in an expensive new dress, Robert trailing behind her like a well-trained shadow. Darling, why are you hiding back here? Come celebrate Tom's success. Success. Right. I took another sip of wine, remembering the credit card statement I'd discovered that morning. $20,000 in new charges, gallery rental, catering, promotional materials. All on our joint card, all without a word to me. The show looks wonderful, I said, the lies tasting bitter on my tongue. Of course it does. We always knew Tom would make it as an artist. Margaret beamed. Though it helped that Robert and I knew the right people to invite tonight. And the new car in your driveway? Did the right people help with that too? Her smile flickered. Robert suddenly found the floor fascinating. Tom insisted, she said. After all we'd done to support his career, it's the least he could do. The least he could do. With our money. Our future. I watched Tom across the room, charming another potential buyer, with that easy smile I used to trust. Emily. David from work appeared at my elbow, a welcome interruption. I didn't expect to see you here. David. I didn't know you were interested in art. I'm not, usually. But when I saw Tom's name in the paper. He glanced at Margaret, who was watching our interaction with narrowed eyes. Could I borrow you for a minute? There's something you should see. He led me to a quiet corner, pulling out his phone. Remember that audit I mentioned last week? Well, I found something interesting about Thompson Gallery Services. My heart stopped. That was the company Tom had insisted he needed for his art business, the one I'd helped him set up 3 years ago. What about it? The payments don't match the reported income. Not even close. David showed me the screen. Either your husband's the worst accountant in history, or he's hiding money. The pieces clicked into place, the missing funds, the suspicious transfers, Margaret's new car. Emily? Tom's voice behind me. I turned to find him staring at David's phone, his face pale. What are you doing? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. I held up the phone. Want to explain these numbers? This isn't the time or place. When is the time, Tom? When the account is completely empty? When your parents have bled us dry? Margaret materialized beside him. Emily, you're making a scene. No, Mother, I spat the word like poison. I'm finally seeing the scene you've been directing all along. The gallery had gone quiet. Faces turned toward us, hungry for drama. Everything I've done has been for our family, Tom said, reaching for my arm. I stepped back. No. Everything you've done has been for their family. I was just the convenient bank account. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I set down my wine glass with deliberate care. I understand that while I was working 60-hour weeks to support your art, you were funneling money to your parents. I understand that every time I sacrificed for our future, you were sacrificing our future for them. Emily, please. I'm done. The words came out calm, certain. Done with the lies, done with the manipulation, done with all of it. I turned to David. Thank you for showing me this. I'll need copies for my lawyer. Margaret gasped. Tom's face crumpled. But for the first time in months, I felt light, free, certain. I walked out of the gallery into the cool night air, leaving behind the wreckage of my marriage and the sweet satisfaction of finally speaking the truth. My phone buzzed, Samantha, right on cue. Is it done? Yes, I said, smiling into the darkness. It's done. And I'm just getting started. Samantha's kitchen had always been my safe haven, but tonight even the familiar scent of her signature chai couldn't calm my racing thoughts. 3 missed calls from Tom, 6 from Margaret, and 1 very interesting email from David about Thompson Gallery Services financial records. They'd been living like royalty, I said, scrolling through the documentation David had sent. 5-star restaurants, luxury vacations, spa weekends, all while Tom told me we needed to tighten our belts for his art career. Samantha set a steaming mug in front of me. Have you talked to a lawyer yet? Tomorrow morning. I wrapped my hands around the warm ceramic. But there's something else. What? The mortgage payments Tom claimed he was making for his parents? Their house was paid off 3 years ago. Before our wedding. Samantha's eyes widened. So where did all that money really go? My phone buzzed again, Tom. I silenced it, but not before seeing his message, please come home. We can fix this. I'll tell you everything. You're not actually considering it, are you? Samantha asked, reading my expression. I don't know what I'm considering anymore. I pushed away from the counter, pacing. 3 years, Sam. 3 years of lies, manipulation, and theft. And you know what the worst part is? I still love him. How pathetic is that? It's not pathetic, it's human. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But love isn't enough when there's no trust. My phone lit up with a text from David, found something else. Can we meet tomorrow after your lawyer appointment? Emily. Samantha's voice was gentle but firm. What's your endgame here? Revenge? Reconciliation? You need to decide. Before I could answer, someone knocked at her front door. Through the window, I caught a glimpse of Margaret's perfectly coiffed hair. How did she? Tom must have tracked your phone, Samantha said, already moving to block the door. You don't have to talk to her. But Margaret's voice carried through anyway. Emily, darling, please. This family falling apart is breaking Tom's heart. He hasn't eaten, hasn't slept. I felt the familiar pull of guilt, the urge to smooth things over. Then I remembered the financial records, the lies, the years of manipulation. Emily's not available, Samantha called through the door. And if you don't leave, I'm calling the police. This doesn't concern you, Margaret snapped. Emily, think about what you're throwing away. Think about Tom's career, his future. His future? I moved to the door, anger burning away uncertainty. What about my future? The one you've been systematically stealing? We can explain everything, Margaret's voice softened. Come home. We'll talk it through as a family. Family? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. Is that what you call people you exploit? Silence from the other side of the door. Then, Roberts had a heart attack. My hand froze on the doorknob. Samantha grabbed my arm, shaking her head. She's lying, she whispered. It's manipulation. He's asking for you, Margaret continued. The doctors say. I yanked open the door. Margaret stood there, perfectly composed, no signs of distress or hospital visits on her designer outfit. Robert's fine, isn't he? I said quietly. This is just another lie. She straightened, mask slipping. Sometimes we do what's necessary to protect our family. No. You do what's necessary to control your family. There's a difference. You ungrateful. Goodbye, Margaret. I closed the door in her face, turning back to Samantha. I think I just found my endgame. Which is? They wanted to play family? I pulled out my phone, pulling up David's message. Let's see how they handle having their perfect family facade torn apart in public. Every lie, every manipulation, every stolen dollar, all of it exposed. Emily. No more guilt. No more manipulation. I typed a quick response to David, meeting confirmed. Bring everything you've found. Through the window, I watched Margaret retreat to her luxury car, the one my money had helped buy. Soon she'd learn that karma wasn't just a concept. It was coming for all of them, and I was going to be its delivery system. The lawyer's office felt too small, too warm, as David spread the documents across the mahogany desk. Each paper was another nail in the coffin of my marriage, another revelation that made my hands shake. Tax fraud, David said quietly. Not just misappropriation of funds. They'd been using your joint business to launder money for years. My wedding ring caught the fluorescent light as I reached for the papers. 3 years of marriage reduced to spreadsheets and bank statements. How much? Close to $500,000. He hesitated. Emily, this isn't just about divorce anymore. This is criminal. My phone vibrated, another message from Tom, please come home. Mom's hysterical. Dad's threatening to disown me. We can fix this. I switched it off. What are my options? I asked the lawyer, Catherine Mills, who'd been silently taking notes. We can file criminal charges, she said, but that means public record. Everything comes out, the fraud, the manipulation, all of it. Including my name on those business documents, I added. I signed them too. Under false pretenses, David interjected. We have proof Tom misrepresented. A knock at the door interrupted him. Catherine's assistant stepped in, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but there's a Margaret Thompson insisting on speaking with Emily. She says it's about Robert's health. That trick again? I started to refuse, but David held up his hand. Let her in. You need to hear this. Margaret swept in like she owned the place, but I caught the cracks in her facade, smudged mascara, trembling hands. Emily, you have to stop this madness. Her voice cracked. Robert. The stress. He's had a real heart attack this time. Like the fake one you invented yesterday? This is different. He's in intensive care. The doctor said. Mrs. Thompson, Catherine interrupted, are you aware that threatening or attempting to manipulate my client could be considered harassment? Margaret's mask slipped completely. You think you're so clever, don't you? Digging up our private affairs, threatening our family's reputation? What about Tom's career? His future? What about my future? I stood, anger finally overwhelming caution. The one you stole? We gave you everything. A place in our family, connections. You gave me lies. I picked up one of the documents. Like this vacation to the Maldives last spring? When Tom told me he was at an art retreat? She paled. That's not. Were these spa weekends? The shopping sprees? All while I worked overtime to support your son's struggling artist lifestyle? Emily, David warned softly, but I was beyond stopping. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady, despite my racing heart. You're going to sign a confession admitting to the fraud. All of you, Robert, and Tom. You're going to repay every penny you stole from me. Or I go public with everything. You wouldn't dare. It would destroy Tom. Like you destroyed my trust? My marriage? My financial security? She reached for her phone. I'm calling Tom. Go ahead. I spread the documents across the desk. Tell him to bring his checkbook. And a pen. Margaret's hand froze over her phone. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. You're bluffing, she whispered. I pulled out my own phone, pulling up the local newspaper's contact information. Want to bet your country club membership on that? Your social standing? Your freedom? The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Then Margaret did something I'd never seen before. She crumpled into a chair and began to cry. What do you want? She asked between sobs. I looked at Catherine, who nodded slightly. Everything, I said. And you have 24 hours to decide. As Margaret fled the office, David touched my arm. Are you sure about this? I stared at the documents scattered across the desk, each one a reminder of 3 years of lies. No, I admitted. But I'm sure about one thing, they're about to learn that Karma takes Visa, MasterCard, and cashier's checks. The game was changing. And this time I was writing the rules. The moving truck idled in our driveway as I unlocked the front door for the last time. 24 hours had passed since my ultimatum, and the Thompson family's response had been silence. Pure, calculated silence. Until now. Tom sat at our kitchen table, head in his hands. Margaret stood by the window, arms crossed, while Robert, apparently recovered from his heart attack, leaned against the counter. You're really doing this? Tom's voice cracked. I set my box of packing supplies on the counter. The movers will be in soon. You might want to clear out. Emily. Robert stepped forward, his usual passivity replaced with something harder. We've spoken to our lawyers. They say you're equally liable for any financial irregularities. Mutual assured destruction? I laughed. That's your play? We're trying to protect our family, Margaret snapped. Your family? I pulled out my phone, showing them the screen. Like these photos of your Maldives vacation? The one where Tom was supposedly at an art retreat? The society pages would love these. Tom's head snapped up. You wouldn't. Try me. The movers appeared in the doorway. I gestured them toward the stairs, but Margaret blocked their path. This is still our house. Actually, I cut in, it's not. Check the deed. I bought it with my income while Tom was struggling to launch his career. You vindictive little. Mom. Tom stood suddenly. Can you give us a minute? Margaret opened her mouth to protest, but Robert touched her arm. They left, Margaret's heels clicking against the hardwood like tiny hammers. I loved you, Tom said quietly once we were alone. I still love you. Love doesn't empty bank accounts. I can explain everything. Save it. I turned to the movers. Start upstairs. Master bedroom. Tom grabbed my arm as I tried to pass. Please. Just listen. Mom and Dad. They sacrificed everything for my art. When they needed help, they manipulated you into stealing from your wife. I jerked away. And you let them. We can fix this. Pay you back. With what money? The gallery's failing, Tom. Your parents are broke. And you. I gestured around our house, at all the things we'd built together. You never really wanted this, did you? A real marriage, a partnership. You wanted a bank account with a pulse. His face crumpled. That's not fair. Neither is fraud. The movers thundered down the stairs with our bedroom furniture, my furniture now. Tom watched them carry out pieces of our life together, each item a silent accusation. If you do this, he said, voice low, if you expose everything, you'll destroy us all. Including yourself. I pulled out an envelope. Then signed a confession. Admit what you and your parents did. Pay me back, and I'll keep quiet. You know we can't afford. Sell the vacation house. Margaret's jewelry. Your father's collector cars. I stepped closer. Or I press charges, and everyone learns how the respected Thompson family has been operating. Emily. Your choice, Tom. But choose fast. My lawyer's waiting. He stared at the envelope, hands shaking. Then Margaret burst back in. Don't you dare sign anything. She snatched the envelope. We'll fight this. You'll what? I turned to the movers. Take everything except his art supplies. Those were bought with stolen money anyway. Margaret ripped the envelope to shreds. You think you've won? We'll destroy you. Every connection, every opportunity. Mom, stop. No. She needs to learn. I walked out while they argued, leaving them to their mutual destruction. Outside, David waited in his car, ready to follow the moving truck to my new place. You okay? He asked as I slid into the passenger seat. I watched Tom and Margaret's silhouettes through the window, still fighting, still trapped in their toxic dance. 3 years of my life gone, my financial security in shambles, my reputation potentially ruined. No, I admitted. But I will be. I pulled out my phone and opened the email I drafted to the local newspaper. My finger hovered over send as David started the car. Sometimes karma needed a little push. The newspaper headline hit like a bomb. Local artist family accused of financial fraud. My finger trembled over the screen as social media notifications flooded my phone. The Thompson family's carefully constructed facade was crumbling, one share at a time. I hadn't pressed send on that email. Someone else had beaten me to it. My new apartment's doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Tom, looking haunted. Margaret stood behind him, her perfect makeup unable to hide her rage. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. How did you find me? David, Tom said quietly. He thought we should talk. Of course. David's misplaced sense of fairness. I'd have to deal with that betrayal later. There's nothing to discuss. You destroyed us, Margaret hissed. Are you happy now? I didn't publish that story. Liar. She tried to push past me, but I held my ground. Robert did. The words hung in the air like smoke. Tom's face went slack with shock. Margaret grabbed the doorframe for support. What? Check your phone, I said. He's probably confessed to everything by now. Tom pulled out his phone, hands shaking. His father's message was there, just as I'd predicted. I'd received my own copy an hour ago. Dad would never. He stopped reading, color draining from his face. Turns out your father has a conscience, I said. Unlike some people. Margaret snatched the phone, her carefully manicured nails clicking against the screen. As she read, her mask finally cracked completely. That weak-willed fool, she spat. After everything I'd done for this family. Everything you've done? Tom's voice cracked. Mom, you're the one who told me to hide the transfers from Emily. You're the one who. I was protecting you. Your art, your future. My future? He laughed, bitter and hollow. Look around, Mom. My marriage is over. My reputation is ruined. The gallery's finished. What future? I watched them unravel, feeling strangely empty. This was my revenge, served not by my hand but by karma itself. We can fix this, Margaret insisted, turning to me. Emily, if you just tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. Like you told everyone Robert's heart attack was real? She flinched. Or how about the art sales you faked? The tax records you doctored? I pulled out my phone. Should I keep going? Please, Tom whispered. Emily, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. It's too late. I stepped back into my apartment. Robert's confession is just the beginning. The police have everything. Margaret's face contorted. You vindictive little. Mom, stop. Tom grabbed her arm. Haven't you done enough? For the first time, I saw Tom stand up to his mother. Too little, too late. I loved you, I told him quietly. But love without trust is just another form of manipulation. You taught me that. Emily. Goodbye, Tom. I started to close the door, then paused. Oh, and Margaret? The country club called. They're revoking your membership. Apparently, fraud doesn't fit their image. Her scream of rage was cut off by the closing door. I leaned against it, listening to their arguing voices fade down the hallway. My phone buzzed, a message from Robert, it's done. I'm sorry for everything. The police have my full statement. Another buzz, David, I'm sorry I told them where to find you. But you needed this closure. And finally, Samantha, you okay? I looked around my new apartment, at the boxes still waiting to be unpacked. At the fresh start I'd bought with 3 years of pain and betrayal. No, I typed back. But I will be. I walked to the window, watching Tom help his sobbing mother into their car, no, her car, bought with my money. Soon they'd learn just how expensive karma could be. The Thompson family was about to discover that sometimes the greatest revenge isn't what you do to others, it's letting them destroy themselves while you walk away free. The last box from my old life arrived on my doorstep, unexpected, unasked for. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, lay my wedding album and a letter in Tom's messy scrawl. I set the album aside without opening it and unfolded the letter. The words blurred, then sharpened. Emily. Dad took a plea deal. Mom's facing trial. The gallery's finished. You won. Or maybe we all lost. I don't know anymore. My phone buzzed, Samantha, sending me a link to another news article. Margaret Thompson, society maven, charged with financial fraud. The mighty had fallen, their empire of lies, crumbling to dust. I crumpled Tom's letter, but couldn't quite throw it away. Not yet. The doorbell rang. David stood there, holding coffee and looking uncertain. Thought you might want company, he said, then noticed the box. Oh. Bad timing? Perfect timing, actually. I grabbed my coat. Let's go somewhere else. We walked to the park where Tom had proposed, though I didn't tell David that. The autumn air carried the scent of endings and beginnings. Robert called me, I said, watching a family play frisbee nearby. He's testifying against Margaret. says Tom finally moved out of their house. Are you okay? I considered the question, really considered it. I thought revenge would feel better than this. But I didn't actually do anything. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped protecting them from the consequences. A jogger passed, leaves crunching under her feet. In another life, that could have been me, running from my problems instead of facing them. The detective handling their case called, I continued. Asked if I wanted to press additional charges. And? I said no. I sipped my coffee, letting the warmth spread through my chest. Enough people have been burned by this fire. David nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. Sometimes the best revenge was simply walking away, head held high. My phone buzzed again, an email from my lawyer. The divorce was final. No contests, no delays. Tom had signed everything without argument. You know what the strangest part is? I said, closing the email. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. A child's laughter carried across the park, pure and unburdened. I thought about the wedding album sitting in that box, about the young woman who'd smiled so hopefully at the camera, believing in forever. What will you do now? David asked. Live, I said simply. On my own terms. We walked back to my apartment in comfortable silence. The box still sat by the door, Tom's crumpled letter beside it. Want help getting rid of that? David gestured at the box. No. I picked up the letter, smoothing it out. One line caught my eye. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to be the man you deserved. At least he'd finally told the truth about something. I struck a match, watching the flame dance. The letter caught quickly, curling into ash in my kitchen sink. The wedding album would go to Goodwill, let someone else's memories live in those pages. Emily? David hesitated at the door. There's an art exhibition next weekend. Nothing fancy, just local artists. If you'd like to. Not yet, I said gently. But ask me again sometime. After he left, I stood at my window, watching the city lights blink on one by one. Somewhere out there, the Thompsons were facing their own darkness, their carefully constructed world falling apart. But that wasn't my story anymore. I opened my laptop, pulling up the novel I'd started writing, not about revenge or betrayal, but about redemption. About a woman who learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemies, but in refusing to let them destroy you. The cursor blinked, waiting. Outside, a siren wailed, then faded. The city moved on, indifferent to personal dramas and private wars. I began to type.
The necklace rested in my palm one final time, gold and garnets catching the afternoon light. My grandmother's voice echoed in my memory, for the women in our family who know their worth. I traced the delicate chain, remembering how she'd clasped it around my neck on my 16th birthday. Now, at 32, I was about to surrender it to a pawnbroker. I'm Elise, and this wasn't my choice. Just sign here, Mrs. Mitchell. The pawnbroker slid the paperwork across the counter, his expression carefully neutral. The amount seemed insulting, $300 for something priceless. But Ryan had been clear, either I pawned it, or he would. My phone buzzed. Ryan again. Did you do it? I'm at the shop now. Good girl. I knew you'd understand. His voice carried that familiar blend of condescension and charm. This is for our family, honey. I'll get it back once this deal comes through. I wanted to scream that there wouldn't be another deal, that his promises were as worthless as his gambling debts. Instead, I said, Sophie's waiting for me to pick her up from school. Give Daddy's little princess a kiss for me. The line went dead before I could respond. I signed the paper, my signature trembling slightly. The pawnbroker counted out the bills, and I felt something inside me harden. At home, Sophie colored at the kitchen table while I prepared dinner, her small face scrunched in concentration. Mommy, where's your pretty necklace? The knife paused over the carrots. It needed cleaning, sweetheart. Can I wear it when I'm big like you? My throat tightened. We'll see. The front door slammed, and Ryan's footsteps echoed through the house. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. Something smells good. Sophie jumped up. Daddy! He scooped her up, and for a moment, I saw the man I'd married, handsome, charming, full of promises. Then his eyes met mine, and I recognized the hollow victory in them. Go wash up for dinner, princess, he said, setting her down. Once she was gone, he approached me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. You did the right thing today. I kept chopping. Did I? Come on, Elise. Don't be like that. This is temporary. Besides, what good was that necklace doing just sitting in your jewelry box? It was mine. The words came out sharper than I intended. His grip tightened. We're married. What's yours is mine, remember? I needed that money for an investment opportunity. You want our family to succeed, don't you? Another gambling debt. Another investment opportunity. Another piece of me chipped away. Of course, I whispered, but something else whispered back, liar. That night, after Sophie was asleep, I sat at my computer, translating a German business contract. Ryan thought I spent my evenings browsing social media or watching Netflix. He had no idea that for the past year, I'd been working as a freelance translator, building my own safety net, one word at a time. My phone lit up with a message from Clara, got another project for you. Big money. Interested? I glanced at our bedroom door, where Ryan's snores drifted through. The man who thought he controlled everything, our money, our lives, our future. The man who didn't know his wife spoke 4 languages or had her own bank account. Yes, I typed back. I'm definitely interested. The necklace was gone, but my grandmother's words remained. For the women in our family who know their worth. I was beginning to understand exactly what that meant. And Ryan? He was about to learn that some debts can never be repaid. The photo album lay open on my lap, a snapshot of Ryan and me on our honeymoon staring back. His arm around my waist, both of us laughing on that Hawaiian beach. 7 years felt like 7 lifetimes ago. Mommy, why are you looking at old pictures? Sophie climbed onto the couch beside me, her small fingers tracing the edges of the photograph. I closed the album quickly. Just remembering things, sweetheart. The front door opened, and Ryan's voice boomed through the house. Family meeting. Living room, now. Sophie bounced off the couch, but I remained seated, my stomach nodding. Family meetings were Ryan's way of announcing his latest schemes. He strode in, still wearing his sales manager badge, face flushed with excitement. I've got amazing news. Remember Tom from accounting? He's got this foolproof system for. Not in front of Sophie, I cut in. His eyes narrowed, but his smile stayed fixed. Princess, why don't you go play in your room for a bit? Mommy and Daddy need to talk. Once Sophie was gone, Ryan pulled out his phone, showing me a series of numbers and charts. Tom's been tracking these patterns for months. If we can just get a stake together. We don't have any money to stake, Ryan. My voice came out steadier than I felt. That's not entirely true, is it? He sat beside me, too close. I saw the credit union statement in your purse. My blood ran cold. The separate account where I'd been storing my translation earnings, he wasn't supposed to know about that. You've been holding out on me, Elise. His tone was light, but his fingers dug into my knee. That's not very wifely of you. That money is for Sophie's future. He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Everything I do is for Sophie's future. For our future. Why can't you see that? Like pawning my grandmother's necklace? The words escaped before I could stop them. His grip tightened. I thought we were past that. You know I'll get it back. Like you got back my mother's silver? Or my engagement ring? Ryan stood abruptly. I'm trying to provide for this family. All I need is $5,000. With Tom's system. No. I surprised myself with the firmness in my voice. He turned, and for a moment, I glimpsed something dangerous in his expression. No? I said no, Ryan. The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Then his face softened, and he knelt before me, taking my hands in his. Baby, don't you remember how good we used to be? Look at us. He nodded toward the photo album. We can have that again. I just need you to trust me. I looked into his pleading eyes and saw the man I'd fallen in love with, charming, ambitious, full of dreams. But beneath that facade lurked the man who'd sold my grandmother's necklace, who tracked my spending. Who made me account for every minute away from home. I have to pick up Sophie's prescription, I said, standing. We can talk about this later. His hand caught my wrist. The credit union closes at 5. We could stop there first. I pulled away. I said later, Ryan. In Sophie's room, I found her arranging her dolls in a circle. Ready to go, sweetie? She looked up, worried. Are you and Daddy fighting? No, we're just talking. I helped her with her shoes, trying to keep my hands from shaking. Hey, want to visit Grandma Martha this weekend? Her face lit up. Can we make cookies? Of course. I grabbed my phone, typing quickly to Clara, need that big project now. Emergency. Her response came immediately, come to the office tomorrow. Got something perfect for you. As we headed to the car, Ryan called from the doorway. Don't forget, Elise. Family meeting isn't over. I buckled Sophie into her car seat, remembering another thing my grandmother used to say, sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is say no. Looking back at our house, at Ryan's silhouette in the doorway, I realized I'd said my first real no today. And somehow, I knew it wouldn't be my last. Clara's office felt like stepping into another world, all clean lines and modern furniture, nothing like my carefully maintained suburban prison. She handed me a steaming espresso and settled behind her desk. It's a contract with a major publishing house, she said. 6 months of work, excellent pay. But there's a catch, they need you in-house 3 days a week. The cup trembled in my hands. Ryan would never. Stop. Clara leaned forward. Stop telling me what Ryan would never allow. This is your career we're talking about. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan, where are you? Sophie's asking for breakfast. Tell him you're at the grocery store, Clara suggested, watching me type. I hate lying. Like he hated lying about gambling away your grandmother's necklace? The truth of it stung. I set down my phone, my decision made. When do they need an answer? A knock interrupted us. Clara's assistant poked her head in. Mrs. Mitchell? There's someone here insisting on seeing you. Says he's your husband. The espresso turned to acid in my stomach. Clara stood. I'll handle this. No. I grabbed my bag. I need to face him. Ryan stood in the reception area, still in his work clothes, his sales manager smile firmly in place. Honey, imagine my surprise when I tracked your phone and found you here instead of the grocery store. The receptionist studiously avoided looking at us. Ryan, I can explain. Oh, I think I understand perfectly. He gestured around the office. This is where you've been hiding your little side business. Making your secret money. His voice stayed pleasant, but his eyes were cold. Get your things. We're leaving. Actually, Clara stepped forward. Elise is in the middle of a meeting. Ryan's smile widened. A family matter takes precedence. Right, honey? That word, honey, dripped with warning. I thought of Sophie, probably still in her pajamas, wondering where I was. Of the credit union account he'd discovered. Of all the careful plans I'd made, unraveling. You should go, I told Clara quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. Call me later. Once we were alone, Ryan's facade cracked. You've been working behind my back this whole time? Making me look like a fool? I was protecting our family. By lying? By sneaking around? He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. I saw the deposits, Elise. Thousands of dollars. While I've been killing myself at work, you've been here, playing career woman? I tried to pull away. You're hurting me. You know what hurts? Finding out your wife has been living a double life. His grip tightened. That money could have changed everything. Tom's system is another gambling scheme. The words exploded out of me. You need help, Ryan. Professional help. His hand struck my face before I registered him moving. The shock of it silenced us both. Mrs. Mitchell? The receptionist's voice crackled over the intercom. Should I call security? Ryan released me, straightening his tie. That won't be necessary. My wife and I were just leaving. His professional mask slipped back into place. Weren't we, honey? I touched my cheek, feeling the heat of the mark he'd left. In that moment, I saw our future with perfect clarity, the escalating control, the violence barely contained. Sophie growing up thinking this was normal. No, I said quietly. What did you say? I met his gaze. I said no. I'm not leaving with you. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Think very carefully about what you're doing, Elise. Think about Sophie. I am thinking about Sophie. I moved toward the reception desk. That's exactly why I'm done. You walk away now, you'll regret it. His charm vanished completely. I'll make sure of it. I turned to the receptionist. Call security. As the elevator doors closed on Ryan's furious face, my phone buzzed with his final message, You want a war? You got one. I deleted the text and dialed my mother's number. Mom? I need you to pick up Sophie from school today. And I need a place to stay. The war had begun. But this time, I wasn't fighting alone. My mother's kitchen hadn't changed in 20 years. The same yellow curtains, the same cookie jar shaped like a chicken, the same sense of safety. But tonight, something was different. I watched Sophie pushing peas around her plate while Martha and Henry exchanged worried glances. The bruise is darkening, my mother said quietly, touching my cheek. I pulled away. It's nothing. Like the nothing I saw last Christmas? Henry's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. The fingerprints on your wrist? Before I could respond, my phone lit up. Ryan's mother, Linda. Elise, what's this about security escorting Ryan from your office? Her voice trembled. He's devastated. Says you're trying to ruin him. I stepped onto the back porch, closing the door on Sophie's laughter as Henry performed his famous dinner table magic tricks. Linda, it's complicated. Peter and I raised him better than this. Whatever's happened, surely we can fix it as a family. Family. The word felt hollow now. Did Ryan tell you about the gambling? Silence stretched across the line. Or about pawning my grandmother's necklace? About tracking my phone? About. He needs help, Linda interrupted. And you're his wife. In sickness and in health, remember? What about Sophie? Who helps her when she sees her father? I stopped, hearing the crack in my own voice. He's at our house now, planning to pick up Sophie from school tomorrow. Says it's his right as her father. My blood ran cold. Linda, please. I thought you should know. She hung up. I rushed inside, finding my father already on the phone with his lawyer friend. Martha held Sophie on her lap, reading her a bedtime story as if nothing was wrong. As if her world wasn't about to shatter. The emergency custody order is being filed tonight, Henry said, covering the phone. But Elise, there's something else. The lawyer found multiple credit cards in your name. Accounts you didn't open. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the kitchen counter, remembering all the times Ryan had handled the mail, insisted on managing our finances. Claimed he was protecting me from stress. My phone buzzed again. A text from Clara, check your email now. The message contained screenshots of gambling site transactions, thousands of dollars, all traced to accounts in my name. Below them, loan applications with my forged signature. He's trying to destroy me, I whispered. No, Martha said, her voice steel. He's trying to keep you trapped. There's a difference. Sophie looked up from her book. Mommy, are we having a sleepover at Grandma's? I forced a smile. Yes, sweetheart. A special sleepover. After Sophie was tucked in, I sat at my parents' kitchen table, surrounded by papers, bank statements, credit reports, loan documents. Each page revealed another betrayal, another noose Ryan had quietly placed around my neck. The lawyer says we can prove fraud, Henry said. But it'll take time. Time we don't have. I showed them Linda's text about Ryan's plans for tomorrow. Martha's hand found mine. Then we fight. All of us, together. My phone lit up one final time. Ryan. I know you're at your parents', he wrote. Come home now, and we'll forget this happened. Or tomorrow, I show the police evidence of your gambling addiction and financial fraud. Your choice, honey. I stared at the message, remembering all the choices that had led to this moment. The first time I'd hidden money. The first bruise I'd covered up. The first lie I'd told Sophie about why Daddy was angry. No more choices, I typed back. No more chances. Then I blocked his number and opened my laptop. If Ryan wanted to play this game, he'd learn I wasn't the same woman who'd once believed his promises. I had proof of my translations work, timestamps of my earnings, witnesses to his abuse. But more importantly, I had something he'd never expected, the strength to fight back. Clara, I called, dialing her number. Remember that publishing house job? I'm in. And I need every record you have of our work together. The war had escalated, but this time, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for Sophie, for the truth, and for every choice Ryan had ever taken from me. The emergency custody hearing loomed tomorrow morning, but first I had to face something harder, explaining to Sophie why we couldn't go home. She sat on my parents' guest bed, clutching her stuffed giraffe, while I packed an overnight bag with shaking hands. But I forgot Sparkles, she said, meaning her favorite bedtime story book. Can't we just go get it? The bruise on my cheek throbbed. Not tonight, sweetie. My phone buzzed. A video message from Ryan. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Sophie's bedroom appeared on screen, Sparkles prominent on her pillow. Ryan's voice, soft and dangerous, everything's waiting for you both. Come home, and this all goes away. Stay away, and I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of mother abandons her family. A text followed, check your email. There they were, screenshots of every translation payment I'd received, doctored to look like gambling transactions. Bank statements altered to show massive withdrawals. A narrative crafted to destroy me. Elise? Clara appeared in the doorway. The lawyer's here. Downstairs, papers covered the dining room table. The lawyer, James, pointed to highlighted sections of documents. He's moved fast. Already filed for full custody, claiming financial misconduct and abandonment. But I have proof. Which will take time to verify. Time he's counting on you not having. Martha brought coffee, her hand steady but her face pale. There must be something we can do. James hesitated. There is, but you won't like it. Before he could continue, Henry burst in. Ryan's outside. I rushed to the window. Ryan's car idled at the curb, headlights off. As I watched, Linda emerged from the passenger side. I'll call the police, Clara said. Wait. I grabbed her arm. Sophie's finally asleep. I don't want her seeing any of this. The doorbell rang. Once. Twice. Then Linda's voice, Elise, please. Let's talk about this like family. I moved toward the door, but Henry blocked my path. You don't owe them anything. But I do. I met his eyes. I owe Sophie a mother who stands her ground. Linda stood on the porch alone, Ryan's shadowy figure visible in the car behind her. She'd been crying. He's not himself, Elise. The gambling, the debts, he needs help, not abandonment. Like the help he gave me when he forged my signature? When he pawned my grandmother's necklace? She flinched. He told us about your gambling problem. How you've been stealing from the family. Stop. My voice cut through the night air. Look at my face, Linda. Really look. Her eyes fixed on my bruised cheek, then darted away. He said you fell. Into his hand? Multiple times? Movement caught my eye. Ryan stepping out of his car, phone raised. Recording. Think about what this will do to Sophie, Linda pressed. Growing up without a father is better than growing up thinking this is what love looks like. Ryan approached, his sales manager smile firmly in place. Getting all this on video, honey. Every word. Every refusal to let me see my daughter. The courts will love it. Something snapped inside me. Years of careful compliance, of swallowed words and hidden bruises, crystallized into a single moment of clarity. I pulled out my own phone, starting a recording. Perfect. Let's give them a show. Tell them about the credit cards you opened in my name. Show them the gambling sites you accessed using my identity. Explain the bruises. His smile faltered. Or better yet, I continued, let's talk about Tom's foolproof system. The one that cost me my grandmother's necklace. How's that working out? Linda's head snapped toward her son. You said you'd stopped gambling. She's lying, Ryan snarled, mask slipping. She's trying to turn everyone against me. Just like always. But Linda had finally seen it, the darkness behind his charm, the violence in his eyes. Enough, she whispered, backing away from him. Oh God, Ryan. What have you done? I closed the door on both of them, legs barely holding me up. Through the window, I watched Linda walk away from her son, phone to her ear, while Ryan stood frozen, his own phone still recording his unraveling. Tomorrow would bring the custody hearing, the legal battles, the long war ahead. But tonight, I'd won something more valuable than revenge, I'd won the truth. The courthouse steps loomed before me like a mountain. Inside, Ryan waited with his lawyer, armed with doctored documents and practice charm. I clutched my own evidence folder, bank statements, translation contracts, medical records, wondering if truth alone would be enough. Ready? Clara squeezed my shoulder. Before I could answer, Sophie's teacher called. My hands shook as I answered. Mrs. Mitchell? Sophie's father just picked her up. The world tilted sideways. What? He showed the custody paperwork you both signed last night. My legs gave out. Clara caught me, already dialing her phone. James? Ryan's taken Sophie. Yes, forged documents. Call the police. But I was already running, my heels clicking against pavement, toward the playground where I knew Ryan took his lunch breaks. Where he'd once pushed Sophie on the swings while I packed picnic lunches and pretended we were happy. He stood by the slide, Sophie perched on his shoulders, her pink backpack still on. Playing the devoted father. Look who came to watch Mommy lose everything, he called out as I approached. Didn't expect me to think ahead, did you? Put her down, Ryan. Or what? His smile was razor sharp. You'll tell everyone what a monster I am? Show them your bruises? Who do you think they'll believe, the gambling addict wife who abandoned her family, or the devoted father trying to protect his daughter? Sophie squirmed. Daddy, you're squeezing too tight. Ryan. Linda's voice cut through the tension. She stood at the park entrance, Peter beside her. Let her go. Stay out of this, Mom. You don't understand. We understand perfectly. Peter's voice carried the weight of decades of disappointment. The police are on their way. It's over. Ryan's facade cracked. You're choosing her side? After everything I've done for this family? What family? I stepped closer. The one you gambled away? The one you terrorized? The one you're traumatizing right now? Sophie started crying. The sound shattered something in Ryan's eyes. I can fix this, he whispered, more to himself than anyone. I just need time. More money. Tom's system is a lie, Linda interrupted. Like everything else you've told us. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Ryan's grip on Sophie tightened. Don't, I pleaded. Please. Not in front of her. For a moment, I saw him wrestle with his choices, the man he pretended to be versus the man he'd become. Then Sophie whimpered again, and something in him broke. He set her down. She ran to me, burying her face in my legs. I did it for us, he said as officers approached. Everything. The gambling, the lies. I just wanted to be enough. You were, I whispered. Until you decided control was more important than love. They led him away in handcuffs, his sales manager's smile finally, completely gone. Linda touched my arm as she passed, tears in her eyes. We'll testify. About everything. In the aftermath, Sophie clung to me while James explained the legal ramifications. Kidnapping charges. Fraud investigations. A restraining order. The custody hearing's been postponed, he said. But with the forged documents and kidnapping attempt, it's basically over. He's done. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, watching Sophie draw pictures with Clara's phone, I felt hollow. This wasn't the victory I'd wanted. This wasn't even revenge anymore. It was just sad. What do we do now? I asked no one in particular. Now? Martha appeared with Sophie's forgotten lunchbox. Now you live. You work. You show Sophie what strength really looks like. My phone buzzed. The publishing house, contract ready for signing. Start Monday? Sophie looked up. Can we go home now? Home. Not the house where Ryan's anger still echoed, but somewhere new. Somewhere ours. Yes, baby. I picked her up, feeling the weight of her trust. We're going home. But first, we had one stop to make. The pawn shop where this all began still held my grandmother's necklace. It was time to reclaim it, not as a symbol of what I'd lost, but of what I'd found: my voice, my strength, my worth. The war was over. The healing could begin. The courtroom felt smaller than I remembered. Ryan sat across the aisle, wearing his best suit, and practiced remorse. 3 months of mandatory therapy and anger management had given him a new vocabulary, but his eyes still held that calculating gleam. "All rise." As the judge entered, I touched my grandmother's necklace, recently reclaimed. The garnets felt warm against my skin. "Your Honor," Ryan's lawyer began, "my client has shown remarkable progress. He's completed all court-ordered programs, maintained steady employment, and deeply regrets his actions." Ryan nodded, the perfect picture of rehabilitation. I'd seen this performance before, at our wedding, at Sophie's birth, after every last gambling spree. "Mrs. Mitchell." The judge turned to me. "You filed an objection to supervised visitation?" I stood, feeling the weight of Linda and Peter's presence behind me. "Yes, Your Honor. I have new evidence." Ryan's mask slipped for just a moment. I handed the bailiff a folder. Bank statements from accounts I didn't know existed until last week. Loans taken out in my name as recently as 2 days ago. The judge flipped through the documents while Ryan's lawyer whispered urgently to him. "These are serious allegations," the judge said. "They're lies," Ryan interrupted, standing. "She's trying to destroy me. Just like she destroyed our family." "Mr. Mitchell, sit down." But Ryan was unraveling, just as I'd known he would. Just as he always did when control slipped away. "Tell them, Elise. Tell them how you hid money from me. How you worked behind my back while I tried to provide." "Provide what?" My voice cut through his tirade. "Debt? Fear? Bruises? Order," the judge warned. I pulled out my phone, opening the recording app. "Your Honor, I'd like to play something." Ryan's face went white. His voice filled the courtroom. "You think you're so clever, hiding money from me? I built this family. I own this family. Without me, you're nothing." "That's inadmissible," his lawyer protested. "It's from last night," I said quietly. "When he came to my parents' house, demanding money for another sure thing from Tom." The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Mitchell, is this true?" Ryan's charm crumbled. "She drove me to it. All these years, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly working, saving money. Because you gambled away everything else." The words burst from me. The necklace was just the beginning. "Tell them about the second mortgage. The credit cards. Sophie's college fund. I would have won it back." Silence fell. Ryan seemed to shrink, realizing what he'd admitted. "Your Honor," his lawyer tried, but the judge held up a hand. "Mr. Mitchell, this court granted provisional visitation rights based on your apparent rehabilitation. These new allegations, combined with your outburst." "Please." Ryan's voice cracked. "She's all I have left. They're all I have left." For a moment, I saw him clearly, not as the monster of the past months, or the charming man I'd married, but as someone broken by his own demons. "That's not true," I said softly. "You have choices, Ryan. You've always had choices. You just made the wrong ones." The judge's ruling came down like a hammer: no visitation. Continued restraining order. Criminal charges for the financial fraud. Outside the courtroom, Linda touched my arm. "We've frozen his accounts. He won't be able to take out any more loans." "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "I never wanted." "We know." Peter's voice was gruff with emotion. "We should have seen it sooner." Through the courthouse windows, I watched Ryan being led away by his lawyer. He looked small, defeated. The man who'd once towered over my world reduced to what he truly was, a shadow I'd finally stepped out of. Clara waited by her car. Ready for your first day at the publishing house? I touched my grandmother's necklace one last time. The garnets caught the sun, not like blood now, but like fire. Like strength. Yes, I said. I'm ready. The war was over. Not with a bang or even a whimper, but with the quiet certainty of truth finally spoken aloud. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. The letter arrived on Sophie's 6th birthday. I recognized Ryan's handwriting on the envelope, but it wasn't addressed to me. For Sophie, "Open when you're older" was written in his careful sales manager script. I set it aside, watching Sophie blow out her candles. Clara had transformed her backyard into a fairy garden, complete with twinkling lights and flower crowns. Martha and Henry handed out cake while Linda helped Sophie unwrap presents. "Mommy, look!" Sophie held up a jewelry box from Linda. Inside lay a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny giraffe, like her stuffed animal. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." I caught Linda's eye, saw the mixture of grief and hope there. We'd all lost something in this war, but we'd gained something too. After the party, while Sophie played with her new toys, I found Peter sitting alone on Clara's porch. "Ryan's in a treatment facility in Arizona," he said without preamble. "Real treatment this time. His choice." The night air felt heavy with possibilities and regrets. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because he asked me not to." Peter's hands twisted in his lap. "He said you deserve to move forward without his shadow." Through the window, I could see Sophie showing Martha her bracelet, her face glowing with joy. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have believed this piece was possible. My phone buzzed, an email from my publisher. The German novel I'd been translating was headed to print. My name would be on the cover, Elise Mitchell, translator. Not wife, not victim, just me. "There's something else." Peter pulled out an envelope. "From the pawn shop." Inside was a receipt and a note, found this in Ryan's old files. "Thought you should have it. Linda." The receipt was for my grandmother's necklace. Ryan had paid off the loan 2 days before our final confrontation, but never told me. Never used it as leverage. Never mentioned it at all. He said it was the one thing he did right at the end, Peter said quietly. "Letting you win it back yourself." Sophie's laughter drifted out to the porch, mingling with the evening air. Inside, Clara was showing her how to make shadow puppets on the wall. Martha and Henry sat close together, watching their granddaughter shine. Linda arranged cookies on a plate, humming softly. This was my victory, not the court battles or exposed secrets, but this moment. This peace. This family, rebuilt from the ashes of what was lost. I touched my grandmother's necklace, feeling its familiar weight. "For the women in our family who know their worth," she'd said. Now I understood, worth wasn't something you proved to others. It was something you claimed for yourself. "Mommy!" Sophie called. "Come see what Clara taught me." I stood, leaving Ryan's letter on the porch swing. Maybe someday Sophie would read it, understand the complicated truth of her father. Maybe she'd learn that strength comes in many forms, in standing up, in walking away, in forgiving without forgetting. But tonight, watching her create light and shadow with her small hands, I saw only possibility. She would grow up knowing her worth. Knowing she was loved. Knowing that sometimes the happiest endings come not from revenge, but from the courage to begin again. "Coming, sweetheart," I called, stepping back into the warm light of our new life. Behind me, the letter waited. Ahead, Sophie smiled. And somewhere between past and future, I found the truth my grandmother had tried to teach me: some necklaces are made of gold and garnets. But the strongest chains are the ones we choose to break. I chose Sophie. I chose myself. And in the end, that made all the difference.